Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers right here on Pub Sports Radio. We have made it to the final week of the regular season alongside my co-host Andy Molitor. Andy, how are you, my friend?
Decent for a Tuesday. It's a new year, all that. Obviously, a weird end of the week. Not the greatest, but Saturday and Sunday we have Saturday football again this week, as they've assuming like there's a lot of assumptions, but the league came out and said today no changes to week 18 yet, but there's still Lord knows what's going to happen yet.
Yeah, I kind of like that week off before the Super Bowl. We have a big horse racing show set up and all that. But if they do move everything, we can work with it still. But obviously, you start by sending our prayers out to Damar Hamlin. Tough watch for everybody last night. And, as the seconds went on, you could tell the enormity of the situation.
I missed it, honestly, Jimmy. And I know this maybe resonates with you, but I was flipping. I only had the one TV because I was in the room with one TV, and I have money on the under 20s, the Canucks, and I was flipping because that was a great game against the Slovakians. So how many times does that happen a season where a player goes down? It's like, oh, he's hurt, so you instantly you're going to commercial. So I flipped back to the hockey game, and by the time I came back, they were in commercial again. I said, well, what? This is a long commercial break. It happened a couple times, 10 minutes, and finally it was like I think the end of regulation, going to OT there, and I said, well, I'm just going to stay on here till football's back, I guess. And when I got back, there's an ambulance on the field. I mean, I had my phone was in another spot. I had to grab it. What the shit is going on? You see players crying. It was kind of jarring to catch it that way, but yeah,
tough.
It's been a long time since they canceled. I'm trying to think, obviously it's COVID cancellations, but not mid-game like that.
No, it was a tough thing for us all to see. Takes you to different places, some dark, some positive, depending on how you reframe those situations when you watch some like a young man in peril like that. Tough. But, we're getting the reports back. They're not good, but they're better than worst case scenario from the hospital right now. So all we can do is just send our prayers and positive energy. However anybody handles these situations, if you pray or you just send out good vibes or whatever it is you do, it's what we should do here for Damar Hamlin. Spenny's saying that he's breathing better on his own right now, down to 50% oxygen. So that is some very good news. Week 18 is very difficult, and with the cloud of what happened yesterday hanging over it, it adds another layer of trickiness. I'm also coming off an awful week. The late touchdown in the Patriots-Dolphins game was a huge swing for me, losing the under and losing the Patriots -2.5. You also lost that under, but you had a strong week. You were 3-2 in a push. You pushed the Dallas, Tennessee over 40. I'm the only person who lost that bet. I don't see anybody else with a 40.5. I don't know how I ended up with it. So it was a very bad week. It was 3-8, down 5.9 units. Very disappointing. Now sitting at 98.74, 57% plus 15.9 units. ROI now under 10%. If you had offered me this record at the beginning of the year, of course I would have taken it. But sucks to kind of back yourself into the final week of the year. Dallas, Tennessee over 40.5 was a loser. Miami, New England under 42 was a loser. New England -2.5 loser. Cash the Giants -5. Lost Carolina and Tampa first half under. Cash San Francisco, Las Vegas Raiders over 44.5. Cash the Jets, Seattle under 42. Lost the double up on Minnesota +3.5 and the team total over 21.5. And lost Washington -2 and the Ravens -2. Two bets I was very confident in. Andy, you pushed Dallas, Tennessee. You lost the Miami, New England under. You cashed the Cleveland, Washington under 40.5. You cashed San Francisco, Las Vegas Raiders over 44.5. Cashed the Jets, Seattle under 42.5. And lost the Vikings +3.5. So a 3-2 week for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. The final regular season week of Gridiron Gamblers. We'll be back in action throughout the playoffs. Jedi for Life in the house. There's Clint started the Die Hard MMA podcast. We got Mac Beavers, Danny Lopez, Terry Walker, Birdie, RVD 420, Spenny Penny Bombs. Spenny Penny Bombs, by the way, swept the board on NFL Pop-Up. Spectacular work. Thank you, Birdie. Yeah, it's still a good record. It's just, It hurts. It was a tough week, Terry Walker.
And you deserved a much better fate on the Miami game.
Oh,
I feel like the more gambling becomes mainstream on sports, people are overusing bad beat. Like bad beat, you can't use it on every time you lose, guys. But like that one, you're not supposed to get beat by that kind of quarterback with that touchdown that late. That was ugly. I feel like I deserve better on that under. And I have kids, so it makes you gray. This isn't gray, Birdie. This is just ashen blonde. It's hard to tell from there, but it's not gray hair. Don't worry.
Oh, it hurt. It really, really, really hurt. But I'm excited about this week. Now, I have a rich history of failing miserably on the final week of the year. So
Are you? And I got a question.
Sure.
No matter what, if it's week 1, week 16, last week playoffs, are you always just betting the same amount?
Yes.
Okay. I do scale down towards the end of the season. My bets are smaller at the end of the season. They come right back to full amounts for playoffs. I do believe there's some very good edges in the playoffs, as numbers don't tend to move a lot, and you can take some strong positioning on like situational angles. But like I do scale down this time of year because I'm with you. Like usually week 15 through the end, it's tight and it's tough. And honestly, if I'm breaking even those weeks, that's better than normal. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of handling things. Probably something I should add to my repertoire. Going down to 75% unit size here in the last couple of weeks of the year. I had a horrific week 17, which was the final week of the year, in my first year of doing this publicly. And I was having a really strong season, and then I went 0-8 in week 17. Then I swept the board on wildcard week, but it didn't matter. I was still like embarrassed. How can you make 8 bets on the final week? I was just so embarrassed and angry. But let's get to work here. I'm excited to cap the card. There's Fat Wally, Papa Cowles, Connor Hinks. Great to have all you guys slatsy ready to get to work. We start Saturday, January 7th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 13-3, 6-2 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders, 6-10, 4-3 at home at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. There is Stimmy OG in the house. Great to see you, Stimmy. Let's start with the line history in this one. We have the Chiefs opening up at -10. It's down to -7.5. From a total perspective, it opened up at 50.5 and it's gone all the way up to 53. It's a lot. It's a lot of points here for this one. We get to the cash for this one. We have 10,696 tickets in. 57% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on Stidham and the Raiders. Market moving towards them. 73% of tickets and 66% of cash on the over. Has it gone too high? There's Dan Kelly giving you a look on in NBA here. Spenny says Stidham played pretty well against San Francisco. He sure did. But let's start with the Chiefs breakdown. Chiefs will clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC with a win and a Bills loss, or 2 Bills losses and a Bengals loss. Kansas City comes in off their 4th straight win, a tight 27-24 home victory over the Broncos. Another example of the Chiefs playing down to the level of their opponent. 15th straight time they've beaten the Broncos. The offense at times struggled to move the ball. They were just 2 of 9 on 3rd down. Their exceptional play in the red zone continued as they went 4 for 5 there. Ever since that 1 for 6 showing against the Rams at home, they've been lights out in the red zone. Mahomes 29-42 for 328 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, joining Brady and Breeze as the only quarterbacks with multiple 5,000-yard passing seasons. Mahomes moved to 11-0 against Denver. So Andrew Luck is the only other quarterback in the Super Bowl era with more than 10 wins and no losses against an opponent. He was 11-0 versus the Titans. Kadarius Toney caught 4 for 71, did lose a fumble. Jerick McKinnon continues to be very dangerous out of the backfield. Caught 5 passes for 52 yards and 2 TDs. He has touchdowns in 5 straight games. That's the longest streak for an NFL running back receiving touchdowns since Bill Dudley, the Lions, in 1947. Kelsey caught 7 passes for 43 yards. Chiefs struggled on the ground. 16 carries for 46 yards. Pacheco hasn't looked very good of late. 9 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. The defense had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. L'Jarius Sneed had a pick. Joe Thuney re-injured his ankle. They did not share with us the MRI results. This is an injury that's been bothering him for some time. It kept him out of Week 11 against the Rams, Week 12 against the Bengals. Nick Allegretti filled in for Thuney in those games, and he did so again when Thuney left the field. And this is the first injury in Thuney's 7-year career. So he's usually a very steady, trusted guard. Sky Moore dealing with a hand laceration, but he should be fine. Raiders coming off that wild 37-34 overtime loss at home to the Niners. Their NFL record 5th defeat this year after holding a double-digit lead in the second half. Crazy. Terrible coaching. Stidham looked good in the Raiders' debut, 23 of 34, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also ran 7 times for 34 yards. So he joins Patrick Mahomes as the only quarterbacks this season to throw 3 touchdown passes against the 49ers secondary. Stidham led the Raiders to 10 points on their first 2 drives. That's the first time San Francisco has allowed an opponent to score in its first 2 series this year. The Raiders' offense went for 500 total yards. Devontae Adams caught 7 passes for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Waller 3 for 72. Jacobs ran 17 times for 69 and a touchdown, caught 4 for 26. The defense just couldn't get stops when it mattered most. Couldn't get any pressure on Purdy. They finished with 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. The Niners were 4 of 8 on third down, 4 of 6 in the red zone. They have their linebacker Darian Butler now in concussion protocol. A lot of questions to be answered here. And would you believe in what you saw from Stidham first and foremost? And then, the Chiefs still need to win to ensure this first overall seed. Are you surprised that the market is moving so quickly towards the Raiders? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, Stidham was lined up to be a starter in New England at one point. People have had faith in him. He's not. It's not like going out there and sticking Sam Ehlinger in a ball game like we've seen this season. It's a home game. It's indoors. It's a Chiefs team that, as people are pointing out, they win, but they don't cover. They don't need to cover. Nothing about the 1 seed is going to be decided on ATS record. They just need to get a road win here. So I think there's definitely some, there's some, probably some steam behind the Raiders. And yeah, the Raiders have taken a little money. I think the over probably is worth a look. If you like the Raiders, you like the over. I don't think any Raiders look is predicated on, the Chiefs just aren't going to score against this Raiders defense, guys. That's why I like the Raiders and the points. A Raiders bet is betting on the Raiders to score points and hang with this Chiefs, keep it close. So, you're essentially betting the Raiders get to 24 in this one. So I do think if you like the Raiders, you like the over. That may be a correlated parlay for places that take bets like that. Because a parlay of the Raiders and over 50 or 7 plus 7.5 and 52 is more correlated than getting the 2.6 like you're going to get on a parlay like that. So something to look for there. I definitely lean that way. Probably something I've been a live bet, but again, and I know it wasn't Jared Stidham, but this Raiders team is so hard to trust. This defense, we've seen this how many times this year, and while I doubt they get up to a double-digit lead on the Kansas City Chiefs, even at home, even just whatever game state they've gotten it to, we've seen this team just collapse so many times. So it's a scary proposition to bet on a team with essentially nothing to play for. And we've seen this from a few teams that are just dead to the world. There's this arc of hey, we're shit and we're losing, but we're going to play hard for a bit. And you've seen that with the Texans. They played tough for a few weeks and, get that win. They beat Tennessee. It was something that, like a little bit of an accomplishment in a drab season. And then from there, they just went limp. It's like last week. Once you get that game where you show people, hey, we're not horrible, it feels like some of these teams just drop off the face of the earth. Like the Rams, after some nice games with Baker, just the last couple weeks, especially last week, just barely showed up. So if that's the Raiders you're going to get, hey, we're ready to go golfing Raiders, then this game could get ugly without the Chiefs actually having to be, like the 2020 Chiefs that we saw that, were just scorching people. Kelsey hasn't scored in a long time either. I'm never one of those hey, you should bet this because he's due, but I wonder where that Kelsey anytime touchdown number is at this point, now that he's just not getting the looks. So lean Raiders. I haven't bet this yet, though. It's just a hard team to trust.
We saw Minshew in a very important week for him. He speaks at Mike Leach's funeral. He has a game against the Cowboys, all eyes on him. He's spectacular. And then we talked about how this felt like a spot where he could, lay an egg. It's just a tough doing it 2 weeks in a row after all that emotion and energy. And then, of course, he did just that. Stidham, it feels like, could fall into that same type of situation. But I am nervous. I mean, the Chiefs they need to win this football game. Aren't they all business here coming in to win this football game? Is there any fear that they're not going to come in completely intense and ready to win and force themselves on that number one seed?
Yeah, and again, a win by 6 is the same as a win by 30 for the 1 seed. So it's still a road game in the division game. You couldn't talk me into betting the Chiefs at this number. I definitely think, and I haven't looked too closely at this, but I spoke about this about a month ago. I said the way Wong teasers work is they're based on the market being efficient, and the fact that if the market is correct and this number should be 7.5, then crossing the 7 and the 3 are very valuable. If the market's way wrong, it has less of a value. So this is probably a banger of a teaser leg. I'm probably going to put this into some teasers. I don't want to go down the card and give away too many spoilers because there's actually not a lot of great legs outside of this. And one of them is a really ugly one, but like a Buffalo Kansas City teaser is, and I know Buffalo's kind of in a weird spot, but they have to be all business about this too, especially with Lord knows what happens with their final game. So a Buffalo Kansas City teaser, I don't know. But by the time we get to the Buffalo game, I'll make up my mind. I might make that official.
I'm not going to lock anything in on this as of tonight here. Chiefs, Raiders. We'll get to look at it again on the Thursday Cappers contest show, but no action from either of us to get the card started. We move on to the big game on Saturday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Tennessee Titans 7-9, 4-4 on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars, 8-8, 4-3 at home. We're at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. 56 Fahrenheit clear, 3 miles per hour. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Gerald Jones, Birdie, Spenny, T-Mac, Slatsy, Dabby, Cab, Sammy Comer, Dan Kelly. Great group. Thank you guys for running with us here. Let's talk about this one. A lot on the line here. Start with the line history. This opened up with the Jaguars -7 at -107, and it's now -6.5. It did last at 7 for about 14 hours at Pinnacle. From a total standpoint, it opened at 39.5, and that's where it is at some books. Some are moving to the under at 39. Some have moved to the over now at 40. I know that Pinnacle had the under juiced heavily, and there's been a move towards the over in the last 24 hours at Pinnacle. Let's take a look at the cash flow for Titans Jaguars. 6,691 tickets in, 47% of the tickets and 97% of the cash. It's early, very early, but that's on the Tennessee Titans. Then 70% of the tickets are on the over, and we don't have a cash count, but you can tell by just the market here. The Titans come in off a big rest advantage over the Jags. They have been off since last Thursday when they lost their 6th straight game, 27-13 at home to the Cowboys. The game was meaningless for Tennessee in the standings. So with this week's regular season finale at Jacksonville to decide the AFC South title, last week they scratched 7 starters, and not counting the 2 they put on IR alongside Tannehill. Derrick Henry, one of those who was resting. They've been beaten up this year. 22 players on injured reserve. They lead the NFL using at least 83 different players. Joshua Dobbs signed off the Lions practice squad. Was decent. Didn't look better than Malik Willis, former University of Tennessee star. Had more yards passing by halftime than Willis managed in any of his 3 starts. 20 at 39 for 232 yards in his first TD pass of his career, 7-yarder to Robert Woods, threw an interception, lost a fumble. He moved the offense. The Titans finished with 317 total yards, 7 of 16 on third down. Traylon Burks caught 4 for 66, Woods 5 for 39 and a touchdown. Hassan Hankins ran 12 times for 40 yards, caught 2 for 13. The defense couldn't get stops when it mattered most. Their banged up defense. Cowboys were 8 of 13 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. They got 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Kevin Byard had 2 picks. Andrew Adams, a DB, hurt his knee. He was carted to the locker room, and it's a torn patellar tendon, so he's on IR. So just another injury that puts their total numbers on the injury reserve to 23. Devontae Harris hurt his hamstring, and Amani Hooker will be back in the lineup this coming week. My first instinct here was that the Jaguars made a mistake. I know a lot of people like what they did here. You know, they're in first place in the AFC South. They could win the division for the first time since 2017. They chose to play their stars in a meaningless Week 17 game at Houston. They looked very good doing it. They won 31-13. There's a ton of confidence, but also there are consequences. They're at a major rest disadvantage. This Titans team not only played Thursday, 11 days off, but rested 7 starters. Trevor Lawrence didn't play most of the second half, and Etienne didn't play in the second half, and that's all well and good, but I think it hurt them in the long run. We will see. Trevor Lawrence, 17-21 for 152 yards and a pick. Marvin Jones got 6 for 61. Etienne looked awesome. 9 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 for 32. Christian Kirk had 21 yards receiving. That's 1,009 on the year. He's the fifth player in franchise history to break 1,000. The defense completely shut down the Texans. 277 total yards, 1 red zone appearance. Finished with 2 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. I can't wait to hear your breakdown because I kind of like the Titans in this situation, and I kind of think that they can keep this close, but then I don't know if I can trust Dobbs. So let's hear your breakdown. Take it away for us, Andy. Titans, Jaguars.
I did bet the Titans because it was 7 and I didn't think it would last. Maybe we see a bunch of Jacksonville money come in and it pushes back, but this is absolutely a Titans bet. I don't understand this number. Like, this should be 5.5, I guess, in my book, especially with the rest advantage. Like, I know Jacksonville rested some players, but those players still traveled and prepped and did the whole, like, part of rest, and the rest advantage is not playing at all. Like, just mentally taking that break. Like, in what world does a half day of work feel anything like staying home, sleeping in, not doing shit? Like, you still had to play half a game of football, and then the league didn't do them any favors. The fact that they're at a big rest disadvantage already, and now it's a Saturday game, so Jacksonville gets 1 fewer days in a spot where Tennessee is going to not only be rested up coming off Thursday, but have a rested running back. The fact that they were smart enough to start Dobbs, because Willis is truly horrific. Dobbs is not great, but he's better than Willis. Willis is he's not a thrower of the ball. He just doesn't look like that's ever going to work out in the NFL. So I'm excited about Dobbs playing from a standpoint of, at least it's not Willis. You have a decent coach. Like, I do love Doug Peterson, but Vrabel's a good coach. You have a rested running back. Jacksonville is okay versus the run. I have them slightly above average as a run defense right now. It's been a good defensive late. This total's low for a reason. But yeah, Tennessee plus anything better than 6. I only made 2 bets on Sunday night. This was one of them. And again, I do have some Jacksonville to win, to make the playoffs, to win the AFC, to win the Super Bowl at some obscene numbers preseason. So I want them in the playoffs, obviously, to keep them alive. So it was always going to be a semi-hedge, but I assumed I'd be coming into this week betting like a 4. To get the 7 on Sunday felt silly. So like I said, I like this at a 6 or better, and it is official. And it's officially, I said I bet 2 on Sunday. One of them was the Jets plus 3.5. Like, this one you can actually bet. Like, the Jets number is gone once we get to that. That was there's always some funny line moving on week 18. I should have paid more attention, I guess, to a couple, because there were some places hanging a horrible Vikings number for a little bit as well. But some people are thinking that it's, what's the birdie thing? You can wait. Doesn't matter. There's going to be Jacksonville money. I think that's probably the case for the public money here. So you could probably get this number or better. I don't think you're in a big hurry to bet this, but I love the Titans.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who trust Vrabel in the market, and I'm not certain that this goes back to 7. I think that you got it when you should have got it. And I think I need to get it now to make sure I get the 6.5 and -110 personally. Brady says, I think Dobbs will be fine as long as he can hand the ball to Henry and complete 4 or 5 meaningful play action passes, which he showed last week he could. Titans money line very live here. Brady leaning heavy on the under as well. I'm kind of interested that this total is skyrocketing up over the last 12 hours, 18 hours or so. Do you agree with this move now? That's so we're crossing the 40 barrier?
I guess you could say it was a little low, but if this keeps going to like 44, 41 or something, I might actually double dip and have an under here. I tend to think 40 is about the right number.
Yeah. So Andy, we got you plus 6.5 -105, and I'm going to move on this. I just wanted some added confidence from you guys, and you have given it to me. So I'm going to be moving on the Titans at plus 6.5 -105. That concludes Saturday action. Let's move on to Sunday's card. We start January 8th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Baltimore Ravens 10-6, 5-3 on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't put their record. I should probably put their record in it, but I didn't know what was going on, what was going to happen today, so I was waiting, but I don't have the record up here. Of course, they've only played 15 games this year. Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio, 39 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here in Ravens-Bengals. The Pinnacle not opening this up, of course, as they are very pensive, very cautious book. BetOnline did, though. BetOnline opened the Bengals -6.5. Bengals are now -7. This total opened up at 43.5, has dropped a point to 42.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for Cincinnati, Baltimore, and just 405 tickets in. There's going to be no help here from the ticket count. Ravens can still win the AFC North with a win here if the Bengals lose or tie the Bills. We still, at this point, don't know what's going to happen with that game. The Ravens coming off a disappointing 16-13 loss at home to the Steelers. They've lost just 3 times in 22 primetime home games under Harbaugh. I was really confident, and I doubled up on the bet, and then I got in on the money line at plus 115 early in the game. They were up 13-3 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and I thought I was right. Looking back at it, I should have probably taken a little bit of the pressure off at that point by maybe making a small money line bet on the Steelers, but I was drunk and I felt I was right, and that mixture is a horrible one when it comes to gambling. Tyler Huntley, 14-21 for 130 yards, touchdown and a pick. Mark Andrews caught 9 passes for 100 yards. All other receivers combined for 5 catches for 30 yards. Clearly, it's a big problem. When they needed to move the ball through the air in the final minute of the game, there was no chance of doing it. There's a very easy defense to put together if Mark Andrews is the only guy who can hurt you through the air. The offense finishes with just 240 total yards. Dobbins ran 1,793 yards. The Ravens still do not know whether Lamar Jackson will be ready to play the regular season finale, but the market's telling us he's not going to play. He's missed 4 straight games after suffering a knee injury on December 4th. The Ravens couldn't get stops when it mattered most. The Steelers were 10 of 16 on third down. And this defense that stops the run, they entered giving up 87.5 yards per game, was cracked for 198 yards by the Steelers. Their streak of 14 straight games out rushing the opponent came to an end. Pittsburgh won that battle 198-120. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Right tackle Morgan Moses exited Sunday's loss early, suffering a biceps injury. It's not a major injury. He's been, according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded player on the Ravens the past 2 games, a huge part of their success. And he's not missed a game since his rookie season in 2014. Calais Campbell and Marcus Peters both have a chance to return this week against the Bengals. As of now, Tuesday night, there's still a lot of unknown as to how the league will handle the suspended game between the Bills and the Bengals. The NFL announced today that after discussions with both teams in the NFLPA, the game will not be resumed this week. They also said that they haven't made any changes to the Week 18 schedule. Obviously, it opens up the possibility of game not being played at all or the start of the playoffs being pushed back. The league said no decision has been made on the possible resumption of the game at a later date. So Damar Hamlin, as everyone knows, suffered the cardiac arrest, and our thoughts are with him right now. So Bengals can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC with 2 wins and a Chiefs loss. They can clinch the AFC North title with a win or a tie versus the Bills or a win here versus the Ravens. Sam Hubbard was unable to go last night due to a calf injury. As you guys know, we talked about last week, Lyle Collins missing the remainder of the season with a torn ACL and MCL, which means that Hakeem Adeniji will be filling the void. And Cincinnati, 12-3 against the spread in 2022. God, there's so many moving parts to this one. How do you find clarity, Andy? Take it away, Ravens-Bengals.
Yeah, an under? I don't know. Cincinnati looked good in obviously very limited time we got to see them. That offense looks good. I'm personally, for me, I'm not betting this game whatsoever. I should probably just take some Baltimore plus the points. I have a decent sized position on Cincinnati to win this division. I'd like to get that home. So, I mean, my hedge bet would just Ravens plus the points and take the, take a middle. That'd be great if Cincinnati won by 3, got the division, and I got the bet. So, but even without Lamar, I really don't like this bet. Man, Cincinnati's offense was kind of humming along to start the game. And I know sometimes that's a little, deceiving as you get those scripted drives out of the way. Sometimes the offense doesn't look the same come down the second quarter, but yeah, the line is saying no Lamar. That was the most interesting thing is when all I don't want to even call them conspiracy theories, just all the theories being floated around today about what they would do with these games. Somebody said, would they ever think about moving week 18 back? And be like, man, if I'm the Bengals, I'd be pissed because I feel like that's kind of the week that Lamar would be back. That's kind of where we've always been targeting. And this will be, this is a spot where if they did get to play Tyler Huntley, they'll be a lot happier than having to play Lamar coming back. So, and Dan Kelly pointing out too, the other thing is Cincinnati did have to suit up and play a game, but they only had to play
10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes of a game. So it's probably Bengals team total over or nothing. Like I think the Bengals offense looks real good in this one. I'll probably stay away from this altogether. Who knows what's going on with it? And at least they were, during this whole debacle and the injury, and at least they were at home. They didn't have to do any traveling after the game. I'm sure they stuck around for quite a while, trying to think about if the NFL was going to make them play the rest of the game or not. But they were in their hometown. They get to just go home for the evening. So they are more rested than they would have been banging heads with the Bills for 60 full minutes. So Cincinnati team total over is kind of a look here, but I have stayed away from this one together.
Yeah, I don't find anything really appealing here, but I find it difficult to believe that the Ravens can keep up with Huntley. I don't really see how they can.
Yeah, their defense would have to play otherworldly.
Yeah, and if that's the case,
then you like the under, right? Like if you think the Ravens defense can absolutely limit Cincinnati, an easier bet's probably just the under.
Yeah, and then we've also seen the Bengals take their foot off the gas after the first half as well. I don't find this too appealing, but the Bengals first half and the full game under, I'll keep looking into, but I don't find it too appealing at this point. Are you making anything official, or do we move on?
No, moving on off this one.
Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8-8, 3-4 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 6-10, 5-3 at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll start with the line history here for this one. Get this up here. Huge move from the opening line towards the Falcons. Falcons are now 5-point favorites. There was a jump from 3.5 to 5 this afternoon. Some books like Bet Online, who opened this up a while ago, opened this up as a pick'em. So that's how far we have come here. 5-point favorites right now. From a total perspective, it opened up at 40.5, and it's now 40.5, but it's juiced to the over. That kind of caught me by surprise, as I thought this was an under spot. So watching it juice to the over has given me pause. Take a look at the cash here for this one. We have 5,170 tickets in, 24% of the tickets, 56% of cash on Atlanta. And clearly the market's concerned and moving the line quickly. 34% of tickets and 48% of cash is on the over, so it looks like there's sharp money towards the over. Brady says Bucks first half for me. The line creeping back up right now. Brady says he's starting, so we'll wait if he plays. Bucks first half for me. That's an interesting look there. Spenny says Bucks probably sit players. Yeah, but it looks like they won't at first. They've locked up the number 4 seed in the NFC and they can't move. They have nothing on the line, but Bowles says he plans to play starters, including Tom Brady. They come in off their biggest win of the year, 30-24 at home versus the Panthers. Brady was 34-45 for 432 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mike Evans was spectacular. He caught 10 passes for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. He hadn't caught a TD since week 4. How blaring was J.C. Horn not on the field? And it's just what a game changer that was, not seeing him out there. He became the first player in NFL history to begin a career with 9 consecutive seasons at 1,000+. Godwin caught 9 for 120, did lose a fumble. The running game struggled again. As a team, they ran 25 times for 67 yards. They put up 478 total yards, but still struggled on third down, just 4 of 15, and were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. They just don't seem now with J.C. Horn out of the lineup, and Evans was catching, some big plays were happening, but we haven't seen them all year, and we still didn't see them on third down. They finished with 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits, and Sean Murphy Bunting had an interception. Carlton Davis and Carl Nassib are still inactive. Tristan Wirfs had just returned from a high ankle sprain, and then he re-aggravated last week against the Cardinals, so he'll definitely not be in the lineup. This is a team that's dealt with a lot of adversity and injuries this year. Every single member of their secondary has missed games this season. They only have 2 outside linebackers in Tron Shoyinka and Anthony Nelson. So if they had a third-string tackle and Brandon Walton protecting Brady's blind side, so they need help. And Jensen and Wirfs back in the first round of the playoffs will be very noticeable. Falcons coming off an underwhelming 2019 victory at home over the Cardinals. Ritter secured his first win as a starter, 19-26, 169 yards. Still no touchdowns. He had to throw a touchdown pass in 3 games. Did lose a fumble. The offense only had 298 yards, and he did not look good in the red zone, 2 of 5. Michael Pruitt caught 4 for 49. Drake London, 5 for 47. Cordell Patterson ran 9 times for 42 yards, touchdown, caught 6 for 42. And Algier still looks very strong, and he's the RB1 here. 20 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, caught a pass for 12. The defense held the Cards to 4 of 11 on third down and 1 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush got 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Take it away here for us, Andy. Buccaneers, Falcons.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. It's not up everywhere I like to bet, but I feel like we're being lied to somewhat. We're getting healthier for the Bucs, and they swear they're going to play their starters, even though they have no reason to. And that's a really long argument, going back to like the Dungy days of the Bucs were so good, or the Colts would be so good they wouldn't have anything to play for like 2 weeks. They'd rest starters, and then any playoff loss was automatically blamed on that. Like, oh, you should have played your guys. So I get hey, we should play our players a little, but I really do think this game is maybe similar to the Jags game, even if the lead isn't what it is, because the Jags, we're in the same boat. Like, winning this game doesn't matter one way or the other. I think the point is to keep people sharp, keep people going through the motions, the routine of getting ready and playing a football game, as this team will, play on Wild Card Weekend. They're obviously not getting a 1 seed. So I think it's probably a Tampa Bay plays the starters in the first half, and 50-50 that they all get yanked at some point. So I'd like Tampa, but yeah, getting like first half, and again, it's a weird first half line. I don't like taking a number that short if it's going to be like a 2.5. It's not up in a lot of places, but pretty strong lean to just Tampa Bay first half money line.
That's interesting.
And Birdie's asking about adding some Super Bowl tickets. I added some earlier in the year, so I'm full up on having any Tampa Bay exposure. Obviously, I didn't get numbers that big. I was looking at them to get healthy and improve the year this year. Maybe that's still something that can happen if this wide receiver core gets on the same page as Brady for longer than 3 drives in a row. But yeah, I'm 25-1, kind of it might be worth a look. The NFC playoffs are kind of horrible. Like,
Yeah.
Really, like the Eagles, even with Hurts back, have taken a big step back with all the injuries. The Cowboys with all the defensive injuries. The Niners are starting a rookie quarterback. Like those three teams are behind. My first four teams in my power rankings are in the AFC, and the NFC playoffs are very weak. And man, anybody, Lions could end up in the goddamn Super Bowl at this point. So if you like a team, you think they're getting healthy, and you like a number, I don't hate that at all. But yeah, Bucks first half money line. I don't know if you have. Is that up anywhere? Most of the places I bet don't have first halves up.
Yeah, it's up. It's up at Bet365 at plus 150. Let's see where else has it here. Let me just move over to first half, but it's plus 2.5. Money line's plus 150. You're right. It's hard to find here, and Pinnacle has it plus 150, Bet365 plus 150, Bovada plus 145, and Five Dimes plus 140.
Yeah, you know what? I don't take a big dog price that often. I'm gonna do it just first half straight up.
Bucks at plus 150 first half. It's a very interesting look. And the Birdie wants to know.
He's asking about the defense here.
Yeah. What do you think? Trust him?
So, with Davis and Nassib missing, it'd be nice. It sounds like Vita's fine. I think Donovan Smith plays. As they get healthier, this is a good defense if they're fully healthy, especially on the back end. They had so many injuries to the secondary. If everybody's winning, if everybody's healthy in the secondary at some point, it's a very formidable defense. And yes, they need everyone healthy up front, like Vea, to be a very good a run defense like they were earlier in the year. And Rance is making fun of the refs, finding a way to get Brady to a Super Bowl. Like, he's saying that tongue in cheek, but at the same time, like, who's getting more roughing the passer calls, Tom Brady or whatever Atlanta's rolling out this week? I'm assuming it's just they're not going to like bench Ritter at some point, but yeah, it's Brady gets the calls, so maybe a little bit of an edge there too. And I do think they play at least a half, so I'll look to get a nice number on that first half.
It's an interesting angle. It's an angle that I hadn't thought of. Bucks first half, and I did with you. I moved 1 unit on the Bucks. I think it was back in week 5, and I didn't even get that good of a number. Like 9-1. I believe it was 9-1. I'd have to look back, but that was my only addition all year. I did no additions because I was succeeding. I was like, don't mess with this. But beginning of the year, I have the 49ers division conference Super Bowl, Chargers division conference Super Bowl. That's it. And then I added that small unit play on the Bucks. So I don't feel very good about it. But I think this is a very interesting move of yours, and I like it. I like it. Bucks first half plus 150 money line for Andy, and I'm interested. All right, let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, New England Patriots 8-8, 4-4 on the road at the Buffalo Bills. Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, 34 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 9 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here in this one. Patriots, Bills. The Pinnacle, of course, not opening it up, so we'll move over to Bet Online and see how they handled this. Buffalo opening up at minus 10.5, now minus 7.5. It did go down to 7. Now at 7.5. If you have never had an account at BetOnline, if you use Pub Sports as your code, they will match you up to $1,000 American for a bonus. Total wise, this opened up at 43.5. Now at 42.5. We'll go into the cash flow here for this one. It'll be very small. 912 tickets in, so no help at all there. Patriots are a win and in team. So if the Patriots lose, the Dolphins can get a spot with a win over the Jets. If the Patriots and Dolphins lose, the Steelers can get the wild card spot with a win over the Browns. If the Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers all lose and the Jaguars lose, the Jaguars get the number 7 seed. So, and if the Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers lose and the Jags win the AFC South, then the Patriots are back into the number 7 spot. But the Patriots can quell all of that with a victory here. They come in off a 23-21 win at home over Miami. Patriots offense struggled again, finished with just 249 total yards. They were 2 of 2 in the red zone. and didn't turn the ball over. But still, Jones was 20 of 33 for 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Tyquan Thornton caught 3 for 60 and a touchdown. Hunter Henry 5 for 52. And Jacoby Myers caught 6 passes for 60 yards and a touchdown, but he left with a shoulder injury. He has come out and said that he expects to play this week. Ramondre Stevenson had 8 carries for 42 yards, caught 2 for 9. The defense was strong, held the Dolphins to 4-14 on third down. Kyle Duggar returned a pick, 39 yards to the house, and Jonathan Jones also had a pick. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. New England was without Jalen Mills, defensive back Jalen Mills, Jack Jones, and Marcus Jones, along with Devontae Parker and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith, they both have concussions, those two. And it left Jonathan Jones and Miles Bryant as the starters at quarterback, and they look pretty good. I mean, it's easier against Bridgewater and Thompson, but so we spoke about the situation when we discussed the Bengals game. At this point, we don't know what's going to happen with the Bengals-Bills game, and but we know that the Bills can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC if they get 2 wins, or a win at the Bengals and the Chiefs lose, or a win versus the Patriots and the Chiefs and Bengals lose in Week 18. So there's still some chances to get that number 1 seed in the AFC. And they've a bunch of injuries. Micah Hyde, being out, and Von Miller done for the year. A bunch of guys on IR. Tommy Doyle, Jamison Crowder also on IR. And Christian Benford was activated from the IR this week. So he could help them a lot. He sustained an oblique injury a while ago. And Jordan Poyer was listed as questionable last night, and he was good to go. So another game with a ton of moving parts. Patriots, Bills. Andy, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top, I'm not going to bet this game. Like, it's really hard to understand if the Bills just come out here and lay a complete egg and they're flat, I mean, no one's going to blame them. They're just going to, I hate to even use the word excuse, because excuse has some negative connotations to them, but they have that, that excuse. It's like, well, how do you get up for a game after that? On the other hand, it might just be the rally around this guy, do it for him, where, that was a teammate. That was it's so weird. Like you picture like happening to a coworker, and it's just not the same. Like, this is not just a coworker. You got to battle with these guys every week. Like it's almost like a family member. So maybe there's some sort of rallying cry around him, and they play very well, but like it's really hard to figure out what kind of mental state the Buffalo Bills will be in. And not only that, but they don't even understand like if they're gonna play another game later, they gotta play like a week 19 game, which would be awful weird, because in most cases that game would be for a bye. So if they lose that game, they got to get into then they'd have to play the next week. If they win it, they'd obviously get the week off. Not sure if they'd push a week back or something, but someone did some math on basically every single scenario in week 18 here between all the AFC teams. There's no scenario where that Bills-Cincinnati game wouldn't at least have some bearing on the seedings. Like there's no combination of the games that can happen this week where that game becomes meaningless. So I feel like they kind of have to play it. So Buffalo's in a weird spot. It's 7 and a hook. Like I said, it's a decent teaser leg, but man, it's tough. It's tough too. Like maybe the Bills feel a little jilted by, if they have insider information about the league telling them they're going to just call it. People are calling for it to be calling the game not happening, like after fighting all season to play this well, beating the Chiefs, winning your division, and not being able to give it a chance to play the 1 seed, I'd be pissed off too. So if they know that, they might come out here with their hair on fire and just beat the shit out of a division foe who honestly doesn't have much of an offense. You go look at these Patriots scores. Yeah, they're winning, but the last 3 weeks, they've had a defensive or special teams touchdown. I keep saying it's not sustainable, but they've done it 3 weeks in a row. So I'm expecting Buffalo to win this game, but like I said, it's hard to know where their mental state is after something like that. And no bet on this one.
It's very hard to know where they stand. So, but I imagine that in the long run, and I mean 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, this will galvanize the troops. In the short term, I don't know either. And any time you kind of cap these things, where it's more than an injury. It's very tricky how players handle something horrible, something horrible.
Yeah, and even back to the the Bengals game, like T. Higgins is shook. Like I know he'll there's plenty of time for him to sleep that off and think about it and talk to someone about it, but man, like he was shook too.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be just being involved in that play. I worry about that guy's mental state right now. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tricky, and the stakes are high for us to succeed. And I don't feel like an angle I can trust. I do think the Bills could be. I kind of lean towards them being vulnerable early, and then really rallying around it after a couple weeks or so. But even that, I'm very hesitant to move on. Spenny Penny Bomb's a big Patriots fan. Says, as a fan, I'll just watch and see what happens in this game. Might take points for the Pats, but only lean right now. Dan Kelly says the Pats are the perfect opponent for the Bills after the trauma. Opportunity to knock the Pats out of the playoffs will bring them back. There's some definite truth to that.
And and I know there's some Patriots fans, but I would like the Patriots to not be in the playoffs. They're not a very good team. Like their defense is good, but they need to add a few things, especially some wide receiver help to be a watchable football team. So there's better team. Honestly, the 7th seed in the AFC might not be very good. Might not be good in the NFC either, but I wouldn't mind the Patriots not being in the playoffs this year. And it's not like a team I haven't been betting on here and there, but yeah, it's not a team I'm excited about in the postseason.
That loss just really fucked me. $762 swing.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a little mad at them about their defense playing like that when I needed that under too.
Oh God, and then the losing the -2.5 too is just very, very tough. Let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Vikings, 12-4, 4-3 on the road. Chicago Bears, 3-13, 2-6 at home. Soldier Field, Chicago, Illinois, 35 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's start with the line history. Man, the Vikings look bad against the Packers, about as bad as a football team can look. Let's take a look at the line history here. We have the Bears opening up as 1-point dogs. Just 48 hours ago, they're now 5.5-point dogs. From a total standpoint, opened up at 46, and it's now 46.5. There's DX Filer in the house. Great to see you, DX. From a cash flow standpoint, we have 4,410 tickets in, 70% of the tickets, 83% of the cash on Minnesota, and clearly the book's concerned. 80% of tickets on the over. Vikings could get the number 2 seed if the 49ers lose and they beat Chicago. If they get the 3 seed, and the 49ers don't, 49ers win, they get 3 seed, then they face the New York Giants in the first round. And I know a lot of cappers, or a lot of, I should say, New York Giants fans are drooling over the opportunity to face Vikings in that first round. Vikings coming off an ugly 41-17 loss at Green Bay. It was 41-3 before the Vikings scored 2 meaningless touchdowns late. Cousins 18-31 for 205 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. He also lost a fumble. Naylor caught 3 for 89 and a touchdown. KJ Osborne caught 7 for 59 touchdown. Justin Jefferson getting stopped in his tracks by Jair Alexander was fascinating. I did not see it coming. He finished with 1 catch for 15 yards. Just amazing. Dalvin Cook was held to 27 yards on 9 carries. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone. Defense could get no pressure on Rodgers. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Couldn't get stops. They lose 2 of their starting offensive linemen to injuries in the first quarter. Austin Schlottman suffered the broken fibula and right tackle, and he was starting in place of Garrett Bradbury, who missed his 4th straight game with a back injury. Now, back injuries are tricky, but there is sort of a sense that Bradbury could play if it was needed. So maybe that's not as big of a deal, but Bradbury certainly won't be playing here. So you have no Schlottman, the backup for Bradbury. Also, right tackle Brian O'Neill left with a calf injury. So Chris Reed, who hadn't played an offensive snap all season, took over for Schlottman at center. Crazy. Udo took over, filling the right tackle. If the Bears lose and the Texans win, the Bears would get the number 1 overall pick. They come in off their franchise record 9th straight loss, ugly 41-10 setback at Detroit. Fields was 7-21 for 75 yards and a touchdown and pick, but he ran 10 times for 132 yards, and he did lose a fumble. So 132 yards rushing. So he has 1143 on the year. 1 game left. He has a chance to break the single-season NFL quarterback rushing record set by Lamar in 2019. He needs 63 yards to tie, 64 to win. 7 sacks and 45 yards he got touched on, and that meant that they had 30 total yards through the air. Atrocious. Kmet led receivers with 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. They got 9 first downs all game. They were 3 of 13 on third down. Their defense was atrocious. Allowed the Lions to put up 504 total yards. Allowed 265 yards on the ground. Finished with 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. Guards Michael Schofield and Tevin Jenkins were injured during the game. Dante Pettis and Jalen Jones also evaluated for concussions and concussion protocol. It was one of those spots where I could not believe, looking back at the game, how the Sharps were on the Bears. Obviously, the books weren't too scared because they moved it from 4.5 to 6 and then brought it back to 5.5. The Bears look like they're not trying. Are the Vikings going to try a little bit? Do you agree with this heavy market move towards the Vikings? Take it away, Andy. Towards yours.
It's probably gone a little too far. The Vikings haven't been great at Soldier Field. And yes, they've been a lucky team. They've won all these 1-score games. They've had some comebacks. They've had some nice drives, but they're still a much, much better team than the Chicago Bears. I don't think they should be a 6-point favorite, but the Bears are incentivized to lose. There's a non-zero chance they can get the first overall pick because, and you want to talk bum fight, rock fight, absolute dumpster fire. We haven't gotten to the Texans-Indy game, but if there was ever a spot for the Texans to accidentally win a goddamn game, it's that. And if that happens and the Bears were to just do what they're supposed to do, a number 1 pick can do an awful lot for a franchise who's rebuilding, who has they have their quarterback, they have some things in place, they have a plan, they have a new GM, a new coach. So I would be pulling starters here. I would get he needs 63 yards. Maybe that's the play. I know like a lot of player props aren't up yet, but the Vikings are the 5th worst team in the country, like I'm talking college football here. 5th worst team in the league as far as average yards per rush by quarterbacks. They're giving up like 6 yards a pop to a quarterback. It's not above the Bears to run him 15 times in the first half and design stuff, just get him the record and get him out of there. So I would love to, I kind of like this Bears management team. Like, I know I wasn't in love with the trade that they made midseason to get the receiver, but I like that they jettisoned some pieces as they should have. And let's get this number 1 pick there to Chicago Bears. Hail, hail. But if you made me bet this right now, it'd probably be Bears plus whatever for the first half. I don't think the numbers. I think the number's probably too big. Congrats to anyone who bet the Vikings -1. That was absolutely the move. Vikings do have something to play for, and they will play at the same time as the Niners, so they won't know that they are most likely not going to get that 2 seed. Anything can happen. So it's probably a pass for me, and I'm going to look if I'm books, I'm just setting the rushing total for Fields at like 65 yards. Like, make somebody pay for it, because you're going to get some smart people that will take that under because it's too high, but you'll get an avalanche of rack money on the over anyway. So,
and you were leaning towards wanting to go over 63. Do you think they fight to get him that record?
I kind of do. Like, it feels like a nice little cap on a bad season where they end up with 3 damn wins. And it's not like it's outside of their game plan. Like, we only do like 2 rushes a game. Like, that's kind of their game plan anyway, is getting him design runs, getting him scambled. So scrambles. So yeah, I kind of like that once that prop comes out, but no move on the side in total here.
Yes, I agree. But those of you who did get the Vikings at -1, that was a smooth, sharp maneuver. We'll move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Houston Texans. You were asking for the bum fight of ages. You've got it. 2-13-1, 2-6 on the road. Indianapolis Colts. 4-11-1, 2-5 at home. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll start with the line history for this one. God, this is just as ugly as games get. The Colts open up -3. They're now -2.5. The total opened up at 39 as a pick'em. There's been a 7-cent move to the under. And 3,396 tickets are in. 68% of tickets, 96% of the cash is on the Texans. 61% of tickets, 79% of cash is on the over. The Texans are in a tough spot here. I mean, how can you lose to this Colts team? Texans come in off an ugly 31-3 loss at home to the Jaguars. They lose the number 1 pick if they win here, and the Bears lose at home to the Vikings. This Texans team had beaten the Jags 9 straight times. They'll go without a home win for the first time in franchise history. They made 1 appearance in the red zone. Davis Mills looked bad, 22 of 40, 22 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, ran 4 times for 33 yards, lost a fumble. Brandon Cooks caught 4 for 39 yards. Ogunbowale and Freeman struggled on the ground. They combined for 40 yards on 14 carries. Jalen Petrie was all over the field, 13 tackles, interception, but the defense did not look good. 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Desmond King had a pick. Colts looked awful in their 38-10 loss to the Giants. I don't know how a team could look worse. They've lost 6 straight, 9 of 10. Nick Foles was 8 of 13 for 81 yards and a pick before leaving the game with injury. Ellinger was 9 of 14 with 1 touchdown, replacing him. Paris Campbell caught 3 for 52. Pittman caught 6 for 41. Zach Moss ran 15 times for 74. 252 total yards. There were 3 of 12 on third down. The defense couldn't get pressure, couldn't get stops, no sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Giants finished with 394 total yards, but that didn't really tell the story. Giants were 4 of 7 on third down, 4 or 5 in the red zone. This is a bum fight. This is usually you want to, I see 2 homeless people fighting. I'm interested. This is a homeless fight I don't want to watch. Take it away, Andy. Texans, Colts.
Yeah, who wants to win this game? Like, there's no incentive. And as somebody very astutely pointed out about the game before, Mac Beavers says players don't tank, management does. Players are playing for their next contract. Players are playing to not get hurt. Players are playing for their pride. They're not tanking. The only way you tank is to pull players, put in worse players, take out your quarterback, take out your star running back. Like, can the Texans do that sort of stuff and get worse? Like, I mean, even in some of these games where they missed both of their good wide receivers, they've been kind of the same team that we're seeing when they're fully healthy. So I don't think the Texans can just pull players and get markedly worse, especially against a bad Colts team. Not a bad teaser leg, Colts +8 if you're into really sick bleeping bets, but no action for me on this. Like, the Texans are very incentivized to lose, but Ellinger is very, very, very bad. And we've seen a lot of bad quarterback play. Maybe Nick Foles the worst of it all, but Ellinger is horrific. I think the Colts probably win, but this is going to be an ugly game where, I mean, Colts winning and not covering is very much on brand for this stupid game. Won't be bad. And yeah, who are the Texans going to pull at quarterback? They play 2 quarterbacks anyway, so Spenny. So yeah, no thanks. Like, you guys can have your bum fight. I don't want to watch this or pay attention or have to track this score.
I don't either.
Like, I believe the Colts just win by attrition because it's the Texans who have really been, I mean, just kind of limp after a couple nice games, but the Colts are very, very, very bad as well right now.
What about the under 39 here? Is there a chance that nobody's right now? 61% of tickets, 79% cash is on the over, so I should probably just stay away from it.
Yeah, I am too. There's too much chicanery, skullduggery, nonsense, ludicrous BS turnovers. Feels like there's a defensive touchdown just lurking in there for your under, Jimmy. Like, I just walk away. This
If
is like
there
a
was,
this
if
is
there,
like this is like fighting your little brother. Just walk away. Don't. It's not even worth it. It's a no-win situation.
I think so. But if there were some bigger bets placed on the under, then I would sit there and go, okay, I think this is the side, but they're already on the over, and I'm just gonna. Or sorry, they're already on the over. I'm just gonna leave it alone at this point. But
65-65. Yeah, the tie is in. Maybe it's just bet the tie. That's a funny result.
the tie would be good.
Yeah.
Tie would be if it goes to overtime, you got to instantly bet the tie. All right, we move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, the New York Jets. Poor Jose Bouquet, our producer on the ones and twos, suffering through 5 straight losses to close out this once promising campaign at the Miami Dolphins. 8-8, another team that just fell apart for their fans. 5-2 at home, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 76 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Take a look at the line history here. We have, okay, move this over here. Sorry, okay, here we go. The Jets open up at +4. They're now +1. From a total standpoint, opened up at 41, has dropped all the way to 38. Jesus. Papa Cal's got the Jets +3.5. That's a nice job. There's son Dizzle in the house. Great to see you, son Dizzle. Jets come in off their 5th straight loss, 23-6 at Seattle, to be eliminated from playoff contention. Longest active playoff drought in the NFL. 12 straight seasons. Last reached the postseason in 2011. Losing record for the 7th straight year. Mike White did not look good. This was a prediction from Andy last week. 23 of 46, 240 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, lost a fumble. In the second half, they got 6 first downs, 4 of those on their final drive. They went 3 and out, 3 straight possessions. White was sacked 4 times. The Jets failed to run an offensive play inside Seattle's 20 the entire game. Conklin led receivers with 6 catches for 80. Corey Davis, 3 for 45. Ty Johnson ran 8 times for 46. The defense tried to keep them in it. 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. But they were bad. They were bad. They lost their safety, LaMarcus Joyner, after aggravating a hip injury in the first quarter. Joyner had missed the previous 2 games with a hip issue, so he's going to be gone. And starting guard Nate Herbig was inactive because of an ankle injury. If the Patriots lose, the Dolphins can get the spot with a win over the Jets. If the Patriots and Dolphins lose, the Steelers can get the final wild card spot with a win over the Browns. If the Patriots lose to the Bills, Dolphins lose to the Jets, Steelers lose to the Browns, Jaguars lose to the Titans. Jaguars are the number 7 seed. And again, the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all lose. Jags win the AFC South. Patriots get the 7th spot. Dolphins coming off the 23-21 loss at New England. Bridgewater looked bad. 12-19, 161 yards, 1 touchdown and pick before leaving the second half with a finger injury. Skylar Thompson, 12-21, 104 yards, touchdown and pick. Tua Tagovailoa, not in the conversation to start this week, still out with a concussion. Mostert ran 9 for 29, but he caught 8 for 62 and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill caught 4 for 55, ran for a 2-yard touchdown on his lone carry. Waddle caught 3 for 52. Jeff Wilson Jr. ran 15 times for 45, caught 3 for 31. Dolphins were 3 for 3 in the red zone. The defense was strong, holding the Patriots to just 249 total yards. Dolphins had 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, no Teron Armstead, no Xavier Howard, no Bradley Chubb. Ugh. And then Javon Holland, arm injury. We don't know the extent of it right now. Their safety. So he left in the second quarter and didn't return. And then tackle Kendall Lamb left in the first half with an ankle injury. Take it away here for us, Andy. Jets, Dolphins.
Yeah, congrats to anybody. And I wish, like I said, I scaled down my plays. So I wish I didn't for this one because, I mean, just Sunday night I do a show, right after the late games where we start looking at the early lines for the next week. And sometimes we'll take some early positions because there's a few that are always off. And my God, while we're still doing the recap, the chat would not shut up about the Jets being +4. Like, what in the world is this line? I mean, there was like 4 people that were just incredulous. The more we looked at it, yeah, that was the wrong line. I got a small position on that. And this will be the most CLV in a bet that I lose in a hilarious way all year, I guess. 3.5 points is an awful lot. But, yeah, Mike White's not good. Mentioned that, but against some of these secondaries, he has looked decent. This isn't the worst matchup, and at the same time, like Miami with, it sounds like probably Thompson. Tua is not coming back. Teddy, finger's not broken, but it doesn't sound promising. And Miami's path to the playoffs isn't great right now, so I don't know. Well, this could be an ugly one, but I have a little bit of Jets. I can't recommend it at a pick 'em, but just getting on the other side of a field goal in an ugly game like this felt pretty good. So, yeah, the under maybe again in this one. I don't know that Miami's going to be able to do much on offense at all. I know this one's low, but I mean, the same kind of reasoning last week where I took that Jets Seattle under. It's like the Jets defense is pretty legit, and it's going to be pretty goddamn legit against a third string quarterback. So honestly, maybe just put me down for a little bit. Is there any 39s in the market? I feel like I should take some. Should I double bet this game? That never works out for me.
Let's see what is available right now because it has been dropping very quickly.
Yeah, I know. I should have gotten that a little earlier too.
There are no 39s. No.
I'll take a 38.5. I'm betting it right now.
All right, under 38.5 at minus 108. Looks like there's going to be 38s here in a second. Under 38.5 for Andy. Under 38.5 at minus 108. Yeah, this is ugly. And good job, those of you who moved on the Jets. Rem, most, no car, no theft insurance, just fucked right in ye old drink hole. But let's move on to football. And no, I did not cap the Islanders Canucks, my friend. This is the final. It takes hours and hours and hours to prepare for this show, and this is the final marathon of the year.
See all that shit Jimmy reads before handing it over to me in every single game? It's a lot.
It takes time.
It is a lot.
I'm so happy it's over. Yeah. I'm so happy.
A bunch of these teams we're not going to have to talk about again for a while.
Yes, we are. But an interesting look on Andy under 38. Now, if you've got some looks that I wasn't on my radar, especially that Buccaneers first half, I was not even close to that. And the more I sit with it, I think it's a pretty good move. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Carolina Panthers 6-10, 1-6 on the road at New Orleans Saints, 7-9, 4-4 at home. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll start with the line history here in this one. We have these Saints opening up as 5-point favorites. That's down to 3.5. From a total perspective, opened up at 39.5 and it shot up to 41.5. Cash flow wise, 3,092 tickets and 68% of tickets. We don't have a cash flow. 68% of tickets, though, are on Carolina. We've seen it drop to 3.5. 63% of tickets, 96% of cash on the over, and we see that move up to 41.5. Panthers officially eliminated from the playoffs after their 30-24 loss at Tampa. Darnold, 23 of 37, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He also ran 5 times for 20 yards, lost 2 fumbles. DJ Moore caught 6 passes for 117 yards and a touchdown. Shai Smith got 4 for 70 and a touchdown. Running game struggled. Foreman and Hubbard combined to run 16 times for 47 yards. Panthers led 21-10 early in the fourth quarter, but couldn't hold on. Defense couldn't stop the big plays. Really, really missed J.C. Horn. We already discussed that. C.J. Henderson simply could not stop Mike Evans. Mike Evans went for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bucks racked up 411 yards through the air. But the Bucks still, 1-3 in the red zone, 4-15 on third down. The Panthers pass rush had 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Saints coming off their most impressive win of the season, 2010 at the Eagles. With the Buccaneers win over the Panthers, Saints were eliminated from playoff contention. Andy Dalton, 18-22, 204 yards and a pick. Raheed Shaheed caught 6 for 79. Juwan Johnson, 5 for 62. Kamara ran 16 times for 74 yards. And Taysom Hill had another good game, running 14 times for 46 yards and a touchdown. The Saints held the ball for 37 minutes and 4 seconds. And that's what you have to do to win against these top teams. You have to have the ball the whole time as much as possible. The defense was excellent. They sacked Minshew 6 times, hit him 9 times, held the Eagles to just 11 first downs. The Eagles were 3 of 12 on third down, 0 appearances in the red zone. Marshawn Lattimore finally back. God, what a difference maker he is. If he didn't miss 10 games, this team probably is, winning their division. He returned an interception 12 yards to the house, and Ryan Ramczyk suffered a hip injury. He's had dealing with injuries all year long. Andy, take it away. Panthers, Saints at the Superdome.
Yeah, numbers say bet the Panthers, but considering they're both out of the playoffs, nothing to play for, it makes it a lot tougher to just trust, trust your numbers, trust your raw power numbers on there with the motivation angles. That said, you've got, and I'm checking, I can't remember if Darnold, since he was traded, you still have the 5th-year option, which I don't think you'd take. Like, it was exercised, but I'm not so sure that how that all works with contract. I think Darnold may just be under contract again. No, this was his 5th-year option this year. So 2022 was the 5th-year option. So you have 2 quarterbacks that are not under contract for next season because Dalton did sign a 1-year when he came to New Orleans. So both of these quarterbacks have a lot to play for because they are not guaranteed these starting jobs next season. Neither of these teams, I think, would be excited about them having the starting jobs, but they're auditioning to find a spot somewhere else, even as if a backup or getting a spot in camp to compete for a starting spot in a place like Seattle or Houston or Lord knows what. So the quarterbacks have a ton to play for. The Panthers defense has a lot to play for. They've been great. Even with Horn out, like the pass rush really got after it. Both these pass rush looks great. This is actually another under I'm betting. And I know I've been on a lot of unders at the end of the season, but it's just kind of the nature of what's going on here. Like this Saints defense is actually sort of legit like right now, and so are the Panthers, even missing Horn. I don't think the Saints are over the top team that's just gonna scorch the Panthers just because they're missing a cornerback. It's a spot where, and this is not my favorite look at all, but 2 defenses in a game with no consequences for anybody. Like these do kind of turn into either I lose this by like 40 points or this game is really bad, like I'm expecting it to be. And I think it is really bad more times than not. Because I can say all I want about, hey, this is auditions for Sam Darnold and Andy Dalton. They're still Sam Darnold and Andy Dalton. They're still not good quarterbacks. It's not like they automatically just get to be great. And right now, the Saints are a top 5 coverage unit over like the second half of the season. And really, the Panthers have been pretty good for most of the season. So, like the defenses here, took an under.
We can get you under 41.5, a minus 109 available at Pinnacle right now for Andy Molitor, star of BetSports and the Deep Dive podcast.
Maybe I didn't think I was going to have very many bets this week, Jimmy. I'm probably making mistakes, but
I'm trying so hard. I can feel my palms sweating. I've had a great. Oh, well, it's over now, 2023, but 2022 was excellent. And my palms stopped sweating, started winning. Bankroll was comfortable. But here, week 18, knowing how bad I am historically in week 18 and not making moves, I just feel my palms drip as you make your moves. Yeah. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns, 7-9, 3-5 on the road at Pittsburgh Steelers, 8-8, 3-4 at home. Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 35 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. You guys were bang on the Browns and what their defense was doing over the last 4 or 5 games. And you reaped the rewards. That under was a great bet, Andy. And I know a bunch of cappers on the Browns that got their cash.
I feel bad not betting the Browns. Like in hindsight, looking at this, like, hey, Jameis Winston, somebody mentioned Jameis. Carson Wentz is laying points. Like, that's the handicap. That's the whole handicap, right? Well, I should bet on the other team who's getting points against Carson Wentz in 2022. 2023, actually, right now we're at. But yeah, that was good job. Anyone who just blindly bet against him, that worked out in spades.
Oh, it just was. You must have been just pointing and laughing. Pittsburgh opening up -2.5, -112. They're now -2.5, -119. This 2.5 got up to a 3, obviously, got up to -126. Totals wise, this opened up at 39 and it's up to 40. Slightly juiced to the over. Take a look at the cash for this one. Browns, Steelers. We have 5,069 tickets in, 38% of the tickets, 49% of the cash on Cleveland. Then we have 92% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the under, and it's gone up a point. Crazy. Browns come in off their most impressive win of the season, 24-10 at Washington, and the Commanders' playoff hopes. Watson, 9 of 18 for 169 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 8 times for 31 yards. Amari Cooper is a boss. WR1. Caught 3 passes for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chubb ran 14 times for 104 yards. Their defense was excellent. Intercepted Wentz 3 times, sacked him 3 times, hit him 6 times, held the Commanders to 260 yards, 1 red zone appearance. Jack Conklin, the right tackle, left in the fourth quarter with an ankle injury. And Denzel Ward left with a shoulder injury. I couldn't get updates, and we'll get them tomorrow with the first injury report, but I tried to find out how bad Ward's injury was, and I could not. The Steelers can clinch the AFC 7th seed with a win versus the Browns and the Dolphins loss versus the Jets and the Patriots loss at the Bills. So a lot will have to happen. Haven't had a losing record since 2003. Have never had one under Mike Tomlin, who's in his 16th season. They've won 6 of 8. Only Washington in 2020 and Cincinnati in 1970 have made the playoffs after starting 2-6. They come in off an impressive 16-13 win at Baltimore, down 13-3 with less than 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Still just livid. Kenny Pickett, 15-27 for 168 yards and a touchdown. Freiermuth, 3 for 36. Najee Harris ran 22 times for 111 yards, caught 2 passes for 12 yards and a touchdown. The first player all season to rush for 100 yards against the Ravens. They made the plays when it mattered most, 10 of 16 on third down. They've been doing that now. This is their 4th week of getting yards and having nice third down numbers. It's just, for whatever reason, they don't seem to get down into the red zone. And they did when it counted and got the job done. The defense was strong, held the Ravens to just 240 total yards, finished 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Minkah Fitzpatrick had a pick. Miles Jack left with a groin injury, and he's been dealing with a groin issue for 2 months. So I tried again to get information on Miles Jack. I suspect that he won't be in the lineup. And then cornerback James Pierre is in concussion protocol. Take it away for us here, Andy. Browns, Steelers.
Yeah, I'm back and forth on Kenny Pickett. Like he's been okay in bigger moments compared to early in the season, early in his career when they finally did go to him, he looked like absolute dog shit on a cracker. Like this guy is pressing, he's making bad decisions, he's horrible. He's not great. Go look at his stat line. It wasn't a good game from him, but he did it when it mattered. And he did it against a great coach, a well-coached defense, a division rival. Like, the market has loved Pittsburgh for a month, and they've been rewarded. And I don't expect them to hop off that gravy train anytime soon. This number is what it is for a reason, despite the Browns offense coming alive against what I thought was a pretty decent defense. Like, I got a little nervous. I thought the Browns were going to kick a lot more field goals than they were, but you get a couple of Cooper passes and somebody takes a bad angle, all of a sudden I'm sweating my under a little in that one. But if the Browns offense is going to be a little livelier, maybe that's not maybe it's where the Pittsburgh train finally ends. So another teaser leg I like. This is a low total. It's a divisional game. Like we just said, the Browns defense looks great, and Watson and Cooper are starting to find a little bit of a rapport. So this is probably true because I did mention like the Bills game is a nice teaser leg, but I'm just not settled on betting on that team right now where they're at. So if I did have to take, the Kansas City Chiefs in that teaser and put them with another team, it would probably be this one. It's if you're getting a 2.5 and you can take that out to 8.5, and then you get the Kansas City number down to 1.5. That's a nice teaser.
Is that something you want to make official?
Yeah, I'm looking for. I'm just making sure I can get it at the book that I bet those at.
Steelers, Chiefs. So it'd be just see this here now. So the Chiefs would be 1.5. Is that right? And
Yep.
And let's move over here. So Chiefs would be minus 1.5, and the Steelers would be
plus 8.5.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Chiefs minus 1.5. Steelers plus 8.5.
Or excuse the Browns plus 8.5. Excuse me. Yeah, don't. If you want to give me Steelers plus 8.5, that would be awful generous. But no, Chiefs Browns.
Chiefs minus 1.5. Browns plus 8.5 is Andy's teaser of the week. All right. I'm going to stay off of that spot. I do think there's some truth to what Birdie's saying. He's saying not betting this, but Garrett did say publicly the Browns want this game for what it's worth. I think the Browns care about
still a divisional game. It's a rival.
Yeah, and they care about giving the Steelers a losing season or keeping them out of the playoffs and things like that. But I'm hesitant to make a move on it. And then this total also, you would think when these two teams battle that the under would be in play, and it's we take a look at where the cash is. You got 92% of tickets, 90% of cash on the under, and yet it's gone up a point.
The Steelers, they've scored, 16, 13. The Ravens game before that, they scored 14. I know the Falcons game was pretty low scoring. It's not a team where I'm expecting them to put up a ton of points. I think just staying inside this teaser leg is going to be pretty simple for the Browns unless they, fuck up on a colossal level turnover-wise.
Yeah, it would just have to be a turnover situation that would do it. I agree. I like the look. We move on to afternoon action, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The LA Chargers making a big run. Winners of 4 straight, 10-6, 5-3 on the road at Denver Broncos, 4-12, 3-4 at home. We're at Empire Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado, 42 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7 miles per hour. We will start with the line history here for this one. And the Chargers open up at -3, at -130. -116, and now -3, -113. This 3 moved to 3.5. It moved to it was -127 the juice, but it's back at 3. From a total side of things, it's opened up slightly juiced to the under at 40. That's where it is. No movement there. Take a look at the cash flow for Chargers Broncos here. 1,977 tickets. There's no help. 53% of the tickets are on the Chargers. 59% of the tickets are on the over. No cash flow and no help. Chargers are the number 5 seed after the Ravens loss Sunday night. They clinched that spot with a win in Week 18 and would play the AFC South champ on wildcard weekend instead of anyone from the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs trio. The Chargers win tiebreakers against the Bengals and Ravens. So they badly want to stay in that spot. Badly. So they come in off a dominant 31-10 win at home over the Rams. They've won 4 straight. They're peaking at the right time. Offense put up 431 total yards, 8 of 13 on third down, and 3 of 3 in the red zone. That's when you know offense is humming. Herbert, 21-28 for 212 yards. You have Williams and Keenan Allen, both healthy, both alphas. Williams caught 7 for 94. Allen caught 5 for 60. Eckler, 10 carries for 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Offensive line giving holes that he hasn't seen all year long. He also caught 4 for 39. NFL leading 18 touchdowns for Eckler this year, 13 rushing, 5 receiving, and he reached 100 receptions. So he joins LaDainian Tomlinson, Larry Centers, Matt Forte, and Christian McCaffrey as the only running backs to achieve 100 receptions. McCaffrey's the only running back to do that for 2 seasons. The 103 receptions by Eckler are the 3rd most in the season by a running back. McCaffrey had 116 in 2019 and 107 in 2018. So this could easily end up being the 2nd most receptions by running back in NFL history. The defense shut down the Rams. They held the Rams to just 12 first downs, 277 total yards. Rams made just 1 appearance in the red zone, finished with 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Birdie looking at the over, Terry Walker looking at the under. Broncos can finally put an end to this awful season. They come in off a 27-24 loss at Kansas City, 15th straight loss to the Chiefs. They looked much better in this game, their first under interim coach, Jerry Rosberg. Wilson was 26-38 for 222 yards, touchdown, and a pick. He also ran 4 times for 27 touchdowns, did lose a fumble. As a team, they ran 24 times for 117 yards. Okwukbunam caught 3 for 45 and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton caught 4 for 44. The offense looked much better in their first game with their 3rd play caller of the season in Justin Newton, their new offensive coordinator. We'll see how long he holds on to that job, but they did look better. The offense held the ball for 33 minutes, 6 seconds, 2 of 2 in the red zone. The defense was strong despite not putting much pressure on Mahomes. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, but they held the Chiefs to 2 of 9 on third down. But again, they couldn't stymie the Chiefs in the red zone. The Chiefs were 4 or 5. Justin Simmons had an interception. Baron Browning, who's looked quite good this year when he's been healthy, he's inactive with the back injury. He's not coming back for the last one. DJ Jones, defensive lineman DL Jones was also inactive. Marlon Mack has a hamstring injury, left in the first quarter. Dalton Risner, he's going to miss the final game. Their left guard, he strained his UCL on his left elbow. And cornerback Damari Mathis is in concussion protocol. So Broncos still dealing with a bunch of injuries, and Chargers are building steam. Take it away here, Andy. Chargers, Broncos.
Yeah, when I first pulled this up this week, I'm like, did the Chargers have anything to play for? I, obviously dug in. Yeah, getting the 5 seed, getting to play, and I love the Jaguars. I'm a big Jaguars guy, but if I'm a coach, I'd rather play the Jaguars than the other 3 options of division champs. Maybe not if it's Baltimore by accident, it's Huntley, but without knowing what as much as you can know, I'd much rather get this 5 seed. So yeah, they have everything to play for. And at the same time, this Broncos defense is trending worse than they have been all season. And the offense is suddenly working a little. Like that was Russell Wilson's best. That was probably the Broncos' best game. Like from both sides of the ball, where they, and a lot of it was on the Chiefs, but the Broncos looked like an NFL team for a little bit. So I tend to agree with the chat here. This total's probably a little low. I know I've been, I made hay all year on Denver unders, but if the offense is going to kind of show up, the defense is back to human rather than superhuman, and the Chargers have something to play for with these receivers, the way they've been playing over the last few weeks, yeah, over there. Fuck it, should I bet the whole card?
Well, why would they only be hanging a 3 here? I know it's slightly juiced, but it feels like they're sitting there in the books knowing that they're going to take a ton of Chargers cash.
It's still a road game. It's still a tough place to play, especially late this time of year. So, and Terry's pointing out Russell only showed up for Patrick. I don't know. This is a bit of a rivalry game against a good quarterback too. Yeah, Birdie's making a good point to maybe the first half over. I'm going to pass on this. I'm not going to bet anything, but looking at that over, this Denver offense did look, it had some signs of life with, Russell playing like a half decent quarterback and having a receiver contribute a little. Chargers defense is it hasn't been at full strength for 10 years. So I think you can probably take advantage here and there. And yeah, the Chargers receivers are really good. When they're healthy and they're on the field, Jesus, it's a good one too. So looking at the over, staying off it.
I find both bets appealing, the over as well as the Chargers -3. I mean, if the Chargers are in a situation where I maybe need is maybe a little too much, but they want to win here. If they can't go into Denver and win, what chance do they have of going into Jacksonville and winning or making a run through the playoffs? They got to keep winning here. So, okay, I'm interested in these spots here. So let me just so the fact that it's a road divisional game and the Denver offense showed signs of life, with Rosberg now in charge, that's going to keep you off betting the Chargers here at -3.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of betting the Chargers ever. They have a brain-dead coach who just makes poor decisions. We've seen some really, really poor coordinating on the offensive side of the ball. Like, they have a very poor coaching staff. It's going to cost them in the playoffs. They have a good quarterback. They have a great 1-2 combination at receiver. They have an awesome running back who can catch the ball. They have some elite pieces on defense at all 3 levels. And just the coaching and coordinating is just going to cost this team a chance to hang with the big boys. This team could be getting into a spot where they're just as good as Cincinnati and Buffalo and Kansas City, and they're getting held back. So yeah, not a Chargers bet. I don't like betting this team on the road against anybody, especially a divisional foe who is playing up a little. So over or nothing for me.
I don't like Staley at all, but they do, as you say, have some really nice pieces. Okay, I'm going to need more time to sit with that. And then just for final, just because I might move on these tonight, what's keeping you off either first half over or full game over? What's keeping you off adding it?
Kind of the same thing. Like, I worry about the Chargers game plan where it's like, all right, we tried. We're not getting the 5 seed. Apparently, we look like shit. We're making some bad decisions. Like, games like this seem to get away from them all the time, especially on the road. So, I'm not excited about batting anything in this one, truthfully.
Okay, we'll move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, New York Giants 9-6-1, 4-3 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles 13-3, 6-2 at home. Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 41 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here in this one. Obviously, it's been a huge move, not at Pinnacle, but at places that opened this earlier. Like, let's go to Bet Online. Bet Online opened this up on the 28th of December with Philadelphia -2. Now they're -14. From a total side of things, opened up at 40.5, now at 43. And then cash-wise here, we have 6,083 tickets in, 81% of tickets, 83% of the cash on the Giants. But that's hard to decipher, really, when the lines move so fast. 82% of the tickets on the over. We don't know a cash flow there. Giants are the number 6 seed in the NFC. Their playoff spot is clinched, and their seed can't move up or down. They come in off a dominant 38-10 win at home over the Colts to clinch a playoff berth. Their point total was a season high. It was the first time they scored at least 30 since October 11th, 2020, when they scored 34 in a 37-34 loss to Dallas. Danny Dimes was excellent. I don't think I've ever said that before. I don't think that sentence has ever come out of my mouth. Daniel Jones was excellent. 19-24 for 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ran 11 times for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. 708 yards rushing now on the year. That's the franchise record for a quarterback. Richie James got 7 passes for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. We've come a long way from that game in Seattle. He's been leading the receiving core of late. Isaiah Hodgins caught 4 for 42 and a touchdown. Matt Breida ran 9 for 59. Saquon Barkley ran 12 for 58. Barkley, 1,312 yards for the season, breaking his career high of 1,307 in 2018. They were 4 for 7 on third down, 4 or 5 in the red zone. They completely shut down the Colts, holding them to 3 of 12 on third down, 252 total yards. Their captain and safety, Xavier McKinney, returned to the lineup. Landon Collins returned to pick 52 yards for a touchdown. They had 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and they believe in themselves. Philadelphia Eagles' second straight loss means the Cowboys are still alive for the NFC East title and the number 1 seed. The Eagles face the Giants. The Giants have nothing to play for, obviously. We talked about 14-point spread, and the Eagles will win the NFC East and the number 1 seed. If they win, they'll also clinch the division if the Cowboys lose to the Commanders. The 49ers are also alive for the number 1 seed. 49ers have to defeat Arizona, and the Eagles lose. 49ers are on the top. So if the Eagles and 49ers lose and the Cowboys win, Dallas will be the top seed and get the bye. If the Cowboys and 49ers lose, Eagles are the number 1 seed. So if the Eagles beat the Giants, it's very simple, which is very likely. Eagles coming off their second straight loss without the services of Jalen Hurts, 2010 at home to the Saints. Shut out for the first half, for the first time this season. 10 points was a season low. Minshew, 18 of 32, 274 yards, touchdown to pick. Devonta Smith caught 9 for 115. A.J. Brown caught 4 for 97, touchdown. Miles Sanders finished with 12 carries for 61 yards. 2 carries in the first half. Very questionable play calling by the Eagles. They had just 11 first downs. There were 3 of 12 on third down. They did not run a play in the red zone. They hadn't allowed more than 4 sacks in the game all year. But now we're starting to see what this line looks like without Lane Johnson. They allowed 5 sacks in the first half alone. The Eagles did not convert a first down until there was 12 seconds left in the first half. The defense playing very strong, did their best to keep them in the game. Sacked Minshew 7 times, hit him 8 times. That's their 5th straight game with 6 or more sacks. That's the longest streak by any team in the Super Bowl era. That's how dominant this front 7 is. They're also the first team to have 4 players with 10-plus sacks in a single season, and Reddick, Sweat, Hargrave, and Graham. That's the first time since sacks were recorded in 82. The 68 sacks are just 4 shy of the NFL single-season record by the 84 Bears. They're going to try and get that. Josiah Scott had a pick. Sweat suffered a neck injury. And it was a scary one. He was taken to hospital. It was a precaution. 11 sacks this season. So he tweeted out that he'll be back this season. Don't worry, he'll be back this season. I mean, Von Miller said he was going to be back next week, and they shut him down and gave him knee surgery. So I don't know if you can believe it fully, but Sweat says he will be back. And he's an important piece. Take it away here, Andy. Giants, Eagles.
There's probably a little bit of an angle on plus 14, but this number screams you're resting players and Hurts plays. Dable, when they asked him after the game, said, "No, I'm not thinking about resting my players. We rest after the season." And then, he had a little time to calm down, take it all in. And they asked, and suddenly he's like, "I'm going to do what's best for the team. We'll go through the week like normal." Obviously, myself and Joe Shane have talked about this. That means the GM has stepped in. A little bit of common sense has stepped in. They can't move. I guarantee they rest some starters. I'm going to not bet this game because of that. I have even at 14, I have a hard time. The Eagles are very incentivized to win, not only get a win, but boy, wouldn't it be nice to get this win, rip through it, and be up by 30 in the first half and rest your guys in the second half. It would be great, especially since they've been beat up. So not betting this, I'll take a little second to kind of just cede my time and talk about Dable. A couple people had made a decent case for why aren't we betting him as Coach of the Year. He's at a bigger number than either Sirianni or Shanahan right now. I really don't like it. I looked at that. Essentially, let's just say this game goes as planned. You have a team with 9 wins. It was an improvement over last year, but they had a win total of like 7. So it's not like they overperformed greatly. And that would give them 5 more wins than last year, which is the same as Sirianni would be doing. It's been since Emmitt Smith's rookie year, since a coach won Coach of the Year without getting to 10 wins. And now 10 wins is not what it used to be with the 17th game. And he would be 1-4-1 in division. I just don't think I know making the playoffs is great. I just don't think that's Coach of the Year fodder when you have Sirianni and Shanahan in the mix. So I kind of hate Dable as Coach of the Year. Like, if he wins this game by accident and knocks Philly out of the 1 spot, I could be eating all those words. But just going 1-4-1 in your division, not getting 10 wins just isn't going to do it there. So kind of hoping Hurts is back and Philly kicks the shit out of the Giants, because I have some Sirianni that I would like him to win.
Yeah, your awards futures action looks quite strong. It's going to be fun. I look forward to watch you rock next year again. How early do you get those in?
Usually during the summer, but I add some, and I need some of these hit to pay for all the Rookie of the Year tickets. My God, I had just some bad ones. I mean, one of my guys got cancer before the season even started. Like, I think he's doing fine, but like just right off the bat, nothing was looking good. Offensive Rookie of the Year is live week 18 with a couple guys, so that was looking like it was just going to be Wilson, and all of a sudden that market flipped. So award markets are always fun to keep track of throughout the season. Hoping Coach Sirianni gets it, but yeah, a lot of that is just summer betting and looking at it as we go.
We will move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Arizona Cardinals 4-12, 3-4 on the road at San Francisco 49ers, 12-4, 7-1 at home. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California. 58 Fahrenheit showers, 9 miles per hour. Start with the line history here. Shout out to Spenny Pennybombs, who confidently grabbed the Cardinals last week against the Falcons. Couldn't believe that the 3.5 points would be a swing from McSorley to Blau. And God, did he nail that? Niners open up minus 13.5. Now they're minus 14 or 14.5 at plus money. Total opened up at 40.5 as a pick'em. It's now 40.5 at minus 108. Take a look at the cash flow here for this one. Cards Niners. We have 2,484 tickets in, 70% of the tickets, 80% of the cash on the Niners. Market moving towards them. Then we have 75% of tickets on the over and no cash flow, so hard to figure anything from that. Fourth quarterback in 4 weeks for the Cardinals. They've now lost 4 straight and 8 of 9. Blau was 22 of 40 for 222 yards, touchdown, no picks. Filling in for Colt McCoy, who's out with the concussion. DeAndre Hopkins was not available due to a knee injury. Trey McBride caught 7 passes for 78 yards and a touchdown. Marquise Brown caught 6 for 61. James Conner had 16 carries for 79 yards and caught 3 passes for 31 yards, but then he left in the second half with a shin injury, and we have not been updated on that yet. I tried to get it, couldn't get it, so we'll find out with tomorrow's Wednesday injury report. The defense was strong, held the Falcons to 298 total yards, 2 of 5 in the red zone. And in his second to last career game, J.J. Watt had the lone sack, gives him 10.5 on the season, sixth season with at least 10 sacks. Robbie Anderson back, defensive lineman Jonathan Ledbetter, knee, both left the game with injuries. The 49ers will clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC with a win versus the Cardinals and the unlikely outcome of a Giants win in Philadelphia. They can clinch the number 2 seed in the NFC with a win against Arizona and a loss by Minnesota. They come in off their 9th straight win, a 37-34 overtime victory at the Raiders. The defense got torched by Stidham. 500 total yards against the 49ers defense that came in as the league's top-ranked defense. I mean, you go back to what the Chiefs did to them, 44 points on them on October 23rd. The 34 points were the most since then. So Stidham and Mahomes each have thrown for 3 touchdown passes against the Niners. The Niners didn't sack Stidham once. They hit him 9 times. Deshaun Gibson and Drake Jackson had picks. Purdy, once again, was very good. 22-35, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. 5th game in a row for Purdy where he's throwing multiple TD passes. That's the longest streak in 49ers history since Jeff Garcia had an 8-game streak in 2001. Brandon Ayuk caught 9 passes for 101 yards and a touchdown, ran for 16 yards on his lone carry. McCaffrey ran 19 times for 121 and a touchdown, caught 6 for 72. That's 1,000 yards rushing for the 3rd time. He scored touchdowns in 5 straight games as well. CMC. Niners offense was strong, 454 total yards, 4 of 8 on 3rd down, 4 of 6 in the red zone. Their guard, Aaron Banks, will have an MRI. It's believed it's a sprained MCL. So he's going to miss some of the playoffs for sure, possibly all. Brunskill will take over his spot there. Drain Greenlaw still dealing with the back injury. Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell will practice this week. Mitchell's still on IR. They haven't pulled him yet. And Samuel got limited work on the practice field last week, but neither is expected to be playing here. So take it away. Birdie says Cardinals plus 13.5. Cardinals money line very comfortably. Says JJ's last game cards will show up. Niners play Giants in first round. Get much needed rest for their D in the second half. Love this angle.
Yeah, I'm more of a Cardinals second half better. I'm not sure what he's referencing with the Vikings. If the Vikings win, then the Niners have to win to get the 2 seed. I don't know if you're implying they would lose the game on purpose to get the 3 in order to play the Giants. I don't see a team doing that. Teams just don't. Again, teams they would get in trouble if they pulled starters in a game where winning meant they were a higher seed. Like, they'll play to win this game. That said, like, I do like the Cardinals in the second half here. Bert, I just don't think that's a thing. Teams don't lose games on purpose to move down a spot in the playoffs, and they're fine playing the Packers. They have had the Packers number. The Packers are a worse team than the Giants right now. I don't care if they're hot and they've been winning games. The Packers didn't even have as many yards as the Vikings last week. I know a lot of that was garbage time, but the Packers offense wasn't anything special. Like, I do not see the Niners losing this game on purpose. That's silly to me, honestly. And truthfully, I think the league would be mad if they did something like they pulling starters to lose to a Cardinals team and move down a spot. They want teams playing competitive games when they're supposed to. You rest starters in the second. I mean, no, that's just not happening. I agree with Birdie on a lot of stuff. I just strongly disagree the Niners would rest starters and risk losing the number 2 seed, because you're looking at it from a very short-sighted angle. Like, yeah, you'd get to play the Giants in the first game, but you don't want to end up in a spot where you're the 3 seed and the playoffs go wonky and suddenly, like, you have to head to Minnesota in certain scenarios rather than hosting them. Like, you don't ever want to be a lower seed just to get one game against. Honestly, there's not a big difference between all those teams: Seahawks, Lions, Giants, Packers. Like, I would definitely want the 2 seed in this spot. I know it's not what it used to be without the buys, but yeah, but it's funny, we're still agreeing. Like, I want to bet the Cardinals here. I just probably want to bet them on the second half. So no pregame moves on me here. And it does get weird. I would like to hear from the chat on that. What happens to this number if the Vikings win, because yes, then the San Francisco is even more incentivized to win, but like, does it get bigger? Why should it get bigger? It's already 14. Like, there's no sense in it's like, oh, now that they have to win, they're going to win by 17. So I'm not so sure this number moves a ton. It might just kind of stand pat.
Yeah,
And yeah, like I said, no move. This is a definite live bet kind of angle, and I'm excited for the. You know what? And truthfully, Birdie, I hope you're right. I hope they rest starters in the second half because they're up by 30. Because my God, getting a Papa calls, my God, you fucker, you stole my thunder. Like JJ Watt has how many touchdown passes or touchdown receptions in this game? Like, if you're down big, suddenly like you're in the second half. Niners arresting players. JJ lines up a tight end. And the whole world knows you're going to throw it to him, and it happens anyway. I would love that.
So the only way the Niners or the Vikings get the number 2 seed if the Niners lose,
yeah,
and the Vikings defeat.
And the Vikings game happens at noon. This is late game, so the Niners will know where they stand.
Yeah, they need to get the win, and then the Eagles win too, and then it's set in stone. Interesting. Okay, and you're looking for a second half Cardinals spot.
Yeah, maybe live betting these dirty birds. It's not even the right dirty birds, but I still think they're dirty.
Oh, they're most definitely dirty. Let's move on. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Rams 5-11, 1-6 on the road. Seattle Seahawks 8-8, 4-4, Lumen Field, Seattle, Washington. 46 Fahrenheit showers, 6 miles per hour. Take a look at the line history of Rams Seahawks here. Move over here. We go. We have these Seahawks opening up at -5.5 at Pinnacle. Now they're -6.5. Of course, any book that brought it out earlier had it different. They had Seattle -3. Now they're -6.5. That's Bet Online that opened it on the 28th of December. Let's go to a total situation. We'll go back to Pinnacle for this. From a total situation, opened up at 41, being a 1 cent move to the over, so nothing big there. Take a look at any of the cash flow can help us here on a Tuesday. It's not been helping us much at all today. We have, there we go. 3,041 tickets in. 63% of the tickets, 93% of the cash on the Rams, but market clearly moving towards the Seahawks, so no help there. 61% of the tickets on the over, small sample size, not helping. Rams coming off an ugly 31-10 loss at SoFi versus the Chargers. Rams' 11th loss of the season, so that surpasses the 99 Broncos for most defeats by a defending Super Bowl champion. Of course, that was the team missing John Elway, who retired after a second championship. Offense got 277 total yards, 12 first downs. They were 4 of 11 on third down, made 1 appearance in the red zone. Mayfield, 11 of 19 for 123 yards, did lose a fumble. Van Jefferson was the only guy that they seemed to have a connect with. He caught 3 passes for 77 yards. Cam Akers ran 19 times for 123 yards, back-to-back 100-yard games for Akers. The defense could get no pressure on Herbert. They couldn't get any stops, 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Chargers put up 431 total yards, 8 of 13 on third down, 3 of 3 in the red zone. The Rams defense looked awful. The Seahawks can clinch the 7th seed in the NFC with a win versus the Rams and a Packers loss or tie versus the Lions, or win or a tie versus the Rams and the Lions-Packers tie and the Commanders lose or tie. That's unlikely. But if they win versus the Rams and the Packers lose or tie versus the Lions, that's the most likely scenario for them to get in. They're coming off an impressive 23-6 victory at home over the Jets. Geno, 18 of 29, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker ran 23 times for 133 yards, caught a pass for 9. DJ Dallas, and that Kenneth Walker-DJ Dallas combo was looking good. DJ Dallas ran 7 times for 43 yards, caught 3 for 55. The offense was 5 of 15 on third down, just 2 of 5 in the red zone, but they got the job done. The defense was good. You could say they were excellent, but I think the blame is on Mike White. They got a ton of pressure on White, sacked him 4 times, hit him 10 times, picked him off twice. They kept the Jets from running any plays inside the red zone. But starting middle linebacker Jordan Brooks is gone for the year. Tore his ACL, done for the season. Happened midway through the second quarter. Phil Haynes, offensive guard, in the second half sprained his ankle. a right tackle Abraham Lucas and safety Ryan Neal are inactive. They've got these knee injuries. The Jordan Brooks loss is a big one. So here we are, Rams, Seahawks, and the Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites. Take it away, Andy. Floor's yours.
Yeah, won't be betting this. Seahawks defense looked better last week. Maybe it's rounding out a little again, and the Rams looked very lackluster. Who knows what kind of effort we get from them? It's a big spot for a team like this. Is essentially almost win and you're in, and it's such a big spot for them. Not only like because the win for the record, but it really pushes. Like they did them dirty. Like they did a couple of these teams dirty. And I don't know what Aaron Rodgers did to like please the league. Like they can't be happy with him being a fucking ayahuasca taking weirdo. Like I don't know why they're rewarding him, but they did the Lions kind of dirty. Like the Lions playing the late game with, I mean, at a 6.5, the money line on this is going to imply that Seattle wins 2/3 of the time. So there's only like a 30% chance that the Lions even have something to play for in a game that they're going to be in primetime for. It just stinks for them. They should have played these at the same time, given the Lions a shot to, play the entire game without having to feel dead inside, I guess. So I'm cheering for, as much as I love Seattle, I'm kind of cheering for the Rams to get the upset just from a selfish standpoint that I'd like the Sunday night game to be good. But I'm not hopeful with what we saw last week. So this number's about right for me. And yeah, Papa Call says we could add Cincinnati, Baltimore. So, and yeah, I know the Lions are going to treat it like a playoff game. I know the Lions there are other teams that might not be able to get up for a game that they're eliminated in, but it's still a divisional game. They can still eliminate the Packers. I do hope the Lions play hard and it's a good game, but I just the whole situation stinks. And like I said, both these numbers are pretty close. I don't think there's an actionable angle on this one this week.
Do you have any interest on the under?
No. Like I said, the Seattle's defense looked good for a week, and the Rams looked awful. But we've both seen, over the past few weeks, we've both seen both of those go the opposite way. So a lot of uncertainty in this one. Not excited to bet it. I think you have a wide distribution of results in this.
Yeah, it's does not this one does not appeal to me, but I'd like to fade the Rams, but obviously I want at 6.5.
Yeah, and people are bringing up the Detroit game, and we'll get to that. But yeah, if Seattle wins, I'm gonna wait and bet Detroit at the biggest number I can get. Because people will just blindly bet Green Bay for some reason, and you'll get a better number on Detroit. I think they're super live against the spread at least.
All right, 2 games left. The final afternoon game is Dallas Cowboys 12-4, 4-3 on the road at Washington Commanders, 7-8-1, 3-5 at home at FedEx Field. Landover, Maryland, 40 Fahrenheit, cloudy, partly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. See what the line history is here for Cowboys Commanders. God, the Commanders were awful down the stretch. Just shockingly bad, worse than I could have ever imagined. And I didn't move on them in the futures market, but I thought they were capable. Now, obviously, after watching them the last couple of weeks, you see the issues at quarterback, whether it's Heineke or Wentz. But before, I was like, look at all these weapons. Look at, I fell for them. It didn't cost me too much in the end, but it certainly did cost, especially in that Giants game when I was just thinking they were going to get back into it. And so it did hurt, but it could have hurt worse. Dallas opening up let's move this up here. And Dallas opening up as 6.5-point favorites at Pinnacle. They're now 5-point favorites. But you go over to Bet Online. Bet Online opened this up with Washington as 4.5-point favorites. There's been a 9-point move at Bet Online. And that's just unbelievable. There's lots of, we talk about this every year, but if you can find the right spots before week 7 or the second to last game of the schedule is played, you can get some huge advantages. Take a look at the total here. This opened up at 42. It's now at 41. It moved to 41 this morning at 11 a.m. Take a look at the cash flow here for Commanders Cowboys. You have just 3,447 tickets in. 14% of tickets, 58% of the cash on the Commanders. 90% of tickets on the over. No cash flow there. The Cowboys can clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC with a win at the Commanders. And the Eagles loss versus the Giants. 49ers loss versus Cardinals. That's not going to happen. They can clinch the NFC East title with a win at the Commanders and Eagles loss versus the Giants. Very unlikely. If Philadelphia wins, it's set. Cowboys will be locked into the number 5 seed in the NFC. They come in off an underwhelming 27-13 road win at undermanned Tennessee on Thursday, so they come in on extra rest. Prescott 29-41 for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So at this point, the likely scenario is that the Eagles beat the Giants and they're locked into the 5 seed and rest everybody, rest all the starters. What do you think, Andy?
They haven't really said. They've been a little mum. I don't know if they do the first half thing too. Can't bet. I'm just first not going to bet this game currently because of the uncertainty around will Dallas sit players. I mean, almost certainly the Eagles win that game, right? And then you're incentivized to just sit your players. But at the same time, as it wins, I don't think they're going back to Heineke. If anything, if you make a move, you're seeing, hey, let's give Howell a shot, especially if it's against some backups. But that said, I haven't been able to really trust Rivera. Like, starting Wentz was a bad idea. Everyone knew that before the game, and then he did it anyway. And I guess we'll just maybe point out that they essentially traded, like they swapped second-round picks and then traded 2 third-round picks for Wentz in a 7th, and then picked up like $20 million in salary. Like, it was a horrible trade before he even stepped in the field. Like, they gave up assets for this guy. Indy had to just be laughing at that point that they picked up the salary as well. So no bet pregame. This is probably see what happens with the Cowboys, see what happens with the quarterback for Washington, but too many moving parts and unknowns to be getting involved in this right off the bat. And yeah, I'm sorry anyone who had Washington over. I thought Washington was headed to the playoffs. I thought Heineke can absolutely beat a Browns team that's offense hasn't looked good. And obviously this was before they decided on the wins thing. And I said, Eagles probably clinch the 1 seed and the Cowboys don't play anybody in week 18. And Washington waltzes into the playoffs and Heineke gets to play spoiler again. But boy, Christ, they just bottled it up all bad. So I'm kind of mad at them.
Yeah, you should be. I was very wrong. I mean, Dreamboat Ron is no one to trust. He's not a man to trust. Prescott has not looked good this year. And I'm very close to wanting to challenge the Cowboys come playoff time, but we'll have time to study that heavily. He's being picked off in 6 straight games for the first time in his career. CeeDee Lamb caught 11 passes for 100 yards, so he's the 3rd Cowboys player in their history with 100 catches in the season. So Michael Irvin 111 and 95, Witten 110 in 2012. Dalton Schultz caught 7 for 56, 2 touchdowns. Malik Davis ran 10 for 39. Zeke ran 19 times for 37 yards. Did score a TD. That's 9 straight games with a rushing touchdown for Zeke. 5th player with such a streak since 2000. The defense finished with 2 sacks, 10 quarterback hits on Josh Dobbs, who's making his first start. The Cowboys still allowed Dobbs to go 7 of 16 on 3rd down. So we know what happened to the defense. I mean, I made a bigger deal about Anthony Brown going out, but when Leighton Vander Esch got hurt and Jonathan Hankins got hurt, it changed everything really for this defense. And they're both on track to come back for the playoffs. They lost their center to a high ankle sprain during the game. Connor McGovern had to slide over from left guard. Tyler Smith went from left tackle to guard, and Jason Peters came in for Smith. So there's some moving parts there with the offensive line. The Commanders came in off that ugly 24-10 loss. I was wrong. I was, and I'm embarrassed saying it, but I was for Wentz coming in. I'd seen enough of Heineke. I was so wrong too. God, he looked so bad right from the very start. Right from the start, he looked bad. I don't know if he gets another chance. I don't know who would want him to be their starting quarterback. 260 total yards, 16 to 28, 143 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Logan Thomas.
Drew got a little misty-eyed. He said, is this it, guys? Is this the last time we're going to ever get to bet against Carson Wentz as a favorite? I said, you know what, maybe in the USFL. Like, I don't know who's like legitimately wanting to add him to the roster at this point in his career. He just doesn't have what he had early on at all.
It was atrocious. So Logan Thomas caught 6 for 56. Brian Robinson, 24 for 87. The defense tried to keep him in it. Sacked Watson 5 times. Held the Browns to 4-13 on third down, 1-3 in the red zone. They lose Jonathan Allen, Pro Bowl defensive tackle. He goes down with a hyperextended knee. He'll be evaluated further on Monday, but he's not playing this week. Benjamin St. Just, he's out. Cam Curl, inactive with the ankle injuries. So it's a mess here, an absolute mess. And you've already hammered it. Is there anything you want to add before we get into that?
Not betting this one.
Yeah,
I mean the last two, you just have to wait. Like, even once we get into this last one, are you gonna make assumptions? Like, if you want to be betting some of these games where something else happens early, you should be looking at some multi-game parlays, because half of your parlay is going to be a better number. Like, if you're getting Seattle losing, you're probably not getting as many points. If you want to take, kind of, I blanked on who Seattle's even playing, the Rams. If you want to take the Rams, you should take the Rams and parlay it with Detroit, because you're getting a better Detroit number than you will. Money's going to come in Detroit later, and you're going to get the best of the number there. So, I mean, if you really think the Rams win, put it with the Lions too. There's some of these every week 18 where you can bet some kind of correlated parlays where if the first leg comes through, the second leg is automatically more valuable, because the number's going to move based on the result from the first leg.
Oh, it's an interesting way of handling it. Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about the final game here, and will it matter? 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Lions 8-8.
Will it be the final game of the season too?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Wow. You're right. It's a crazy week 18 here in the NFL. Lions 8-8, 3-4 on the road. Packers 8-8, 5-3 at home at Lambeau. 25 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. Start with the line history here for Lions Packers. We have these Packers opening up at -5.5 at Pinnacle, now at -5. If you want to go to a book that opened it up before the games played, Bet Online opened them up, and they had Packers -3.5. Packers are now -4.5. So not a lot of movement there. We'll go back to Pinnacle, though, for the total. This total opened up at 48. It's now up to 49, and it's juiced to the over. So probably 49.5s are out there. Take a look at the cash flow for Lions Packers. The Sunday nighter. Here we go. 5,475 tickets in. 57% of the tickets on the Packers. No cash flow to help. Then 36% of the tickets and 96% of cash on the under, but it's gone up a point or a point and a half. Lions coming off their 7th win in 9 games to give themselves a shot at earning a postseason spot for the first time since 2016. They need a win over the Packers and a loss or a tie by Seattle against the Rams, as we spoke of. That's very unlikely, or I guess a 33% chance, but I don't even think it's that. They come in off a dominant 41-10 home beatdown of the Bears, outgained the Bears 504-230. Goff, 21-29, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He's not throwing an interception for 8 straight games. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 4 for 62. Jamal Williams ran 22 times for 144 yards and a touchdown. Caught a pass for 13. Swift did the same damage on the ground. Ran 11 times for 78 yards and a touchdown. Caught 4 for 39 and a touchdown. Defensively, the Lions completely shut the Bears down. They held them to 230 total yards, 9 first downs. Aiden Hutchinson had an interception and a fumble recovery. Hutchinson, the first defensive lineman with 3 picks since Richard Dent, 90. First lineman in NFL history to have 3 picks as a rookie. And James Houston, when they put up from the practice roster, 7.5 sacks now. So that's the most sacks by an NFL player in his first 6 games. Deshaun Elliott is still dealing with the shoulder injury, inactive. Packers beat the Lions. The Packers are in. If the Packers lose and the Seahawks win, the Seahawks get in. If the Seahawks lose, and the Lions beat the Packers, Detroit is in. That's the furthest of likely situations. Packers coming off their fourth straight victory, 41-17 at home over the division champ Vikings. They were dominant. Rodgers 15-24 for 159 yards and a touchdown. Lazard caught 5 for 59. Tonyan 3 for 52 and a touchdown. Aaron Jones woke up in a big way. 14 carries for 111 yards. The defense was all over the Vikings. 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, interceptions from Darnell Savage, who returned at 75 yards to the house, Amos, and Rudy Ford. Kenny Clark recovered a fumble on a strip sack. They converted all of the turnovers, all of Cousins' turnovers into touchdowns, but it was Jair Alexander. Locking down Justin Jefferson, the NFL's leading receiver like that, is a fucking alpha thing, man. He's a big balls. This Packers team is coming together at the right time, but we've talked about the moving parts here. So let's go through the situation here. So let's say Seahawks win. What are your thoughts on the game? And then we'll go if Seahawks lose.
Line goes to 6, I suppose, and I'll be betting the Lions. Like, I won't bet this game right now. I think regardless, I'll have some way to attack the Lions in this. But if the Seahawks win, probably see some Lions money come in. It gets bet down to maybe like 3.5. And then probably it's a live betting opportunity at that point. But I do want to push back against Green Bay being dominant. And I wish I hadn't bet Vikings last week. So some of this would have a little bit of like, you got to yell at me a little, say, well, Andy, you're just saying this because you bet the Vikings at plus 3.5 and you thought that was a good bet and it was never close. But I mean, just getting those, look, Rodgers' numbers weren't great. They ran good and that was about it. And you can push back on that a little and say, well, they didn't need to be great because they had such a big lead right away. It's so hard to really judge a game where you end up with 2 special teams touchdowns, defensive special teams touchdowns right off the bat. Like, it was 17-3. Rodgers had 22 yards passing. It turned into a weird game where it was tough. It was tough to really judge how well the Packers played. And again, and I don't ever want to be conspiracy theory Andy, but there's so many clips I watched of this damn game where I just don't think the Vikings brought the right cleats. They had like 100 guys slip and fall down. Receivers, defenders, it happened on special teams. It's like they didn't bring the right cleats and didn't bring longer ones to switch into, like you see sometimes. Like, they really looked like they just didn't have the right goddamn shoes on at times. And it was on some important plays too. So I'm worried that the Packers I still don't think the Packers are very good. That said, the Lions, Seahawks, and Giants are all pretty much right around there. It's not like the Lions are, they should be favored. The Packers are bad. Like, no, the teams that are around the 6 and 7 seed are almost in the playoffs. They're all about the same. So the little bit of value, I think, on the Lions, but would love to see this. Would love to see, what we get if Seattle does end up winning that game, because like a lot of people are pointing out, they have a head coach who's going to push them to play hard regardless. Aiden Hutchinson, I know it's Sauce Gardner's award, but Aiden Hutchinson is I think he should get some more serious looks at offensive rookie or defensive rookie of the year. Maybe if he has another pick or scores a touchdown, he may make some crazy late push for it, but I doubt that happens. I'm hoping the Lions win here. That said, I know a lot of people with stupid big Green Bay numbers that they made a few weeks ago. So whatever happens, I'll be happy for somebody.
Yeah, I guess I can sort of romanticize what Rodgers is doing, what Brady's doing, what Tomlin is doing. Some of these guys that we've been around for so long. And I think a lot of people are doing that with thinking that the Packers maybe are better than they actually are. But this NFC is just wide open. So there's no reason, like if you had a Packers at a huge number, there's no reason not to be confident. And you guys know I had the Niners last year at 33-1 for the conference, 66-1 for the Super Bowl. And I was like, Jesus, I'm going to pick up 10K here in a second. And I can understand the similar feeling with the NFC this year as I had last year. So good luck to them. And we will be live betting this game right here. Sunday, we have Lions, Packers, and then Monday we'll be live betting the national championship game. So we got a lot of live betting action here. and some really, really fun stuff. So let's review all action for our final full card of the football season here. So on Saturday, Andy has moved on the Titans plus 6.5 and minus 105, and I want in. I just wanted the extra confidence. I want in. Then when we get to Sunday, I have some interest in the Bengals in the full game under and Ravens Bengals. I want more time on it. Andy moved on the Bucks first half at plus 150, and I find the look quite appealing. Quite appealing. Bucks with no pressure, but want to get some things right here. I'm going to be interested to see who on the offensive line is going to be available for the Bucks, but I'm interested in that. JSG says, I hope the Kraken will be there. You're damn right. The Kraken's going to be there. I mean, I've got no live show without the Kraken. Come on. Just a shadow of myself without the Kraken. Patriots, Bills, we have no action. We discussed the Justin Fields rushing prop. I think the number is 63 to tie.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to pay a premium like to bet that, but I might do it anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Texans, Colts, we've stayed off. Andy moved on the under 38.5 at minus 108 on Jets, Dolphins. He moved on the under 41.5 in Panthers, Saints. His teaser is Chiefs minus 1.5 and the Browns plus 8.5. Then I am interested in the Chargers and either the first half over or the full game over. But I probably spend a little bit more time on it. But I just think the Chargers are doing everything right and need to clinch that 5th seed. That would be very advantageous. That's going to be. How much fun would that playoff game be if it is Chargers heading to Jacksonville? I mean, that's just going to be fun football. Then 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Giants, Eagles, no action for us. Cardinals, Niners, no action. Rams, Seahawks, no action. Cowboys, Commanders, no action. Lions, Packers is a wait-and-see spot as well. But Andy delivering the goods with a bunch of plays to keep the show exciting while I have a rich history of failing miserably on the final week of the season. So I'm going to try to be as cautious as possible here. Andy, it's a treat to cap with you week in and week out. You've just been really fun and knowledgeable, and it's been a huge asset to us all here at Pub Sports Radio. Shout out to all the cappers supporting the show: Rance, Spenny Penny Bombs, DX Filer, Terry Walker, JSG, Harold Williams, Papa Calls, Matthew Grundy, Birdie, Slatsy. What a great group. Ulysses Hayes. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Joe, respect. And thank you. Big thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who does such a great job of producing. And thank you, Jose, for all that you've done and all the hard work you've put into this show. And my man, Andy, star of Bet Spurts and the Deep Dive podcast. You can catch him at both of those places. Andy, any final words before we put a bow on this?
No, are we going to do like a 14-minute show if they push everything back? Are we going to do a Tuesday where we just handicap Bills Cincinnati?
No,
I don't. I'm not going to sit down and do that. We'll tweet about it. How's that sound? I'll join you for a live show on that one if that game does end up happening. But keep your ears to the street. See what happens with what they're going to do with that game. Very interesting. Thanks for everyone in the chat. I always love reading the stuff that goes in there. A lot of smart folks in there.
Yeah, it's a great chat, and thank you guys all for supporting. Here we go. One more week of the regular season to get that cash. Let's go out there, finish the season strong, head into the playoffs with fatter pockets. Thank you guys for watching. Now, let's go out there and get that fucking cash.